my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching, thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. The question is now at this point, like is in my below my name, Art the Clown is quickly reaching legendary status. He's getting there fast. He's getting to be number one with the bullet. I gotta say, I don't think he's quite on the Mount Rushmore yet, but after this movie, I mean, he's in the running. He's getting there. He's not a top level yet, but he's getting there. He's on the way. We're going to discuss this movie tonight in all its gory details, and who else could I have here to do this with me except the practitioner of special effects himself, and then of course you see the main star of the show up there at the very top of your screen. The first one being my Hitler Life page, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
I've had a full, I don't even know, it's a full glass, whatever the glass was, the amount, a whole thing of Guinness. So I'm pretty loose and I'm feeling pretty good. So, hey, there's nothing like, having a Guinness from the tap from an Irish pub. So, the peak, top shelf amount of stuff, go for the good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, this, he's going to keep, if he does that the whole show, I'll be really amazed.
That would be selling the performance most.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of good stuff, man, this movie's got plenty of good stuff. Like you said, for someone who loves special effects and especially practical effects, holy crap, there's a lot to talk about in that regard, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole lot to go over this movie. My one big problem with this screen in particular is that it's such a new movie. There isn't a whole lot of like screen grabs that I could find, especially if they're really great shots. I've had a couple, but I mean, there are
we can show probably.
I can show. There are moments in this movie. There are moments in this movie.
There's a number of moments, yeah.
And then, of course, the one who will, when he decides to speak, will wax philosophically about this movie until I make him stop and just mute his microphone. The Shape Alone Star State, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
Uh-oh. There you go. There's the whole movie review. You've all seen Terrifier 3 now, basically.
All you need.
You're welcome.
All you need.
And if you don't think Art the Clown is already in that legendary status, I've got a real chainsaw for you, buddy. I've got news for you, Mr. Frank.
That's a long way to run.
You are wrong.
No, I believe it.
What's up, y'all?
I said after 2, I was sold. I think after this one, I think he's earned a spot for sure.
Yep.
Well, let's get right down to the nitty gritty. We, of course, here are talking about Terrifier 3. It is the 2024 American Christmas supernatural slasher film, written and directed by Damien Leone. It stars Lauren Lavera, Elliott Fullam, Margaret Anne Florence, Bryce Johnson, Antonella Rose, Samantha Scaffidi. I always mispronounce her name. And, of course, David Howard Thornton. On the days leading up to Christmas, the story follows Sienna Shaw. She attempts to rebuild her life. At the same time, Art the Clown is pursuing her alongside his new accomplice, a possessed from the first film. This is a sequel to Terrifier 2, and is the third installment of the Terrifier franchise, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tex, the 5th film to have Art the Clown.
Yep, you're correct.
In the United States and Canada, Terrifier 3 was released alongside several other movies, Piece by Piece, The Apprentice, My Hero Academia, You're Next, and in wide expansion of Saturday Night, the movie about Saturday Night Live. It was projected to gross $10 to $11 million in its opening weekend, with one estimate being at $12 to $18 million. This against a $2 million budget actually ended up grossing just over $19 million in its first weekend. On Rotten Tomatoes, 76% of 82 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 6.5 out of 10. The website's consensus review reads, quote, taking an axe to the Yuletide cheer and everything else in its path, Terrifier 3 is a bloody fantastic stocking stuffer for the holiday season. That pretty much, that says it. It's a fair assessment without going into too many details. But let me go to you first, Jeremy. Give me your quick thoughts on Terrifier 3.
Man, like I said about, sequels, go bigger or go crazy, which I think this one definitely did. This went a number of places, uncomfortable places, I will say, because I found myself like I unfortunately I went to see this by myself. She had a pretty busy night last night with wedding stuff. So I went to go see it by myself. But I'll definitely see it again. I'd take her to go see it. But there was things where I'm like, no, I'm seeing some crazy shit. But am I really watching that happen right now? That's wow, I've never seen that before. So yeah, there's some wild stuff in this movie, and there's at least some more, I guess, lore. There's some more backstory with some characters that I was kind of like, from 2, where I'm like, okay, so what's the deal with Lauren Lavera's dad? Like, what's this whole thing with the sword and the warrior angel that she becomes? So I'm like, okay, we kind of got something, but not really. There were, I think Tex said there were 2 things that upset him about this movie, and I'm like, I bet you I can guess what they are right now, because one of them, I think, was something that also kind of felt cheap to me.
They're coming to get you, Tex.
No. Oh, where was? Oh, yeah. No, so the thing with the kills in this movie, not only are they just like, even to someone like me, or even like Tex, I'm like, we've seen all kinds of stuff, but it's like, these are not only just over the top and ridiculous, but they're different and they're like inventive. Like, I would never have thought to, I've never seen somebody like killed that way in a movie before. So I'm just like, well, okay, that's a thing I've seen now. That's wild. And it definitely had room for a sequel, which I'm fairly certain we're. Text pissed everybody off today. That's a big fire. Something's going on. There's a mall somewhere with a hole in it. But we'll get to that. And with all these kills, like I said, the thing that I love the most is that it was all practical, and they were all wild, and they were all really cool. And I can forgive some of it because I'm like, you throw enough trust me, in my line of work, you throw enough blood on it, who cares? You get the point. You know what's going on. You know what body parts getting mashed apart by a saw. And at the end of the day, we all just want to make little snow angels out of blood. I mean, isn't that what we all want to do? Which I think was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I will say, art did make me actually laugh a few times in the theater, just by some of the dumb mannerisms and shit he does. But it's a fun, slasher gore fest.
Tex, keep it brief. Remember, we've got plenty of time to talk about this stuff. Give me some of your quick thoughts.
6 in a second. How much time do you have, friend? I can preach from this mountain.
I'll come back.
I think it's fair to call this the Empire Strikes Back of the Terrifier films. On the epic scale, the way things kind of wrap up, the way it leaves off. I went and saw this 5 times in theater so far. Probably going to see it some more if I'm being real honest. I love this movie. I'll get to my 2 problems later on. That's for the end, but this is almost a perfect movie for me. I'm not even a big Christmas guy, but Art the Clown works in any setting you put him in, and it just the balls on Damian Leon to just say, "Fuck them kids, I'm killing everybody. I don't care what you think about it." It was so refreshing to see this is true grindhouse horror in the modern day. Obviously, like Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, they did their grindhouse movie back in 2007 or whatever. This is grindhouse footage right here. It's shot cheap. It's got that grainy look, the grainy feel to it, and it's brutal. And this is my favorite kind of horror right here. Why I'm dressed up like this. But I could do this review by myself, but I don't want to have all the fun. So I'll pass it along to Frankie over there. So it's all good.
Yeah. I've got a few gripes with this movie, but this movie, the last 2 films, Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3, Terrifier 1 was great visuals, great kills, but I thought the movie was very one-dimensional. I was kind of disappointed. 2, much better. 3, I think kind of on par. Not quite as good as part 2. That's both good and bad from my point of view. I'll explain that a little deeper later on. But I mean, the last two Terrifier films are what I had always kind of hoped that the great 80s slashers would have evolved into had the genre not gone into some like real dry spell over the course of the late 90s and early 2000s when everything had to be like, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer. It wasn't real horror. It was always this teeny bopper thriller stuff, and it wasn't real horror. This is dude, the kills. It's like, look, one thing you have to have for a good horror movie are great kill scenes. Every one of these are creative. They're visual. They're visceral. I mean, it's like the weakest kill scene in this movie is like, it's crazier than anything I've seen since like the mid '80s stuff. I mean, it was insane. I love the fact that they managed to work these insane visuals around a fairly interesting story. Again, I have my gripes, and I'll go deeper into them later. But I mean, a very complete movie. I think pretty much on par with the second one, which I really liked. And you know, I'm not a big fan of the way that it ended. Not how it all happened per se. Just that kind of ending doesn't really do it for me right now, especially with where production is on part 4, which we will talk about here later on. But yeah, I mean, I left the theater very, very happy, very, very entertained. Again, just Damian Leon doing Damian Leon things. This Terrifier is his turf. That's where he works. That's where he eats. I hope he makes 20 of them. I want them all.
It
is not lost. He has not lost his touch on this yet. I still don't want to see him charting these out one every 6 months. But he has not lost the grip on this franchise yet. But let's talk a little bit about the growth of Damien Leone as a director. I'll go to you first, Tex. I said I wanted to see him do other things. I wanted to see him explore different ways of storytelling, things like that. I wanted to see him expand away from Art the Clown and do some other things. Did you see the kind of growth in Damien Leone that I was discussing, or did you want to see from part 2 to part 3?
You know, I've agreed with you. Hang on a minute. Sorry about that. No, I've agreed with you in the past that I wanted to see Damien Leone do something besides Terrifier. But you know what? This guy's he knows what he's doing with this, and I want him to ride this pony till it runs out of gas. Whether that's one more movie, 2 more movies, whatever. I'm not saying I don't want to see Damien Leone do just strictly Terrifier. Don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. But this dude has figured something out that works, and I want him to cash in this lotto ticket as much as he possibly can. And these movies are only getting better the more they go. I mean, hell, he took $2 million and turned it basically into $20 million for an independent slasher film that so many people walked out of within the first 10 minutes. You know, this dude, strike when the iron's hot. I know, you know, some people don't want to see the Saw formula where you get one every year, whatever. I don't care. Ride this out till it dies and then wait 5 years and reboot it. Because guess what? Everybody else in Hollywood does that. So why the hell can't Damien Leone do it with Terrifier? So he's got it going. I love what he's doing.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? Was this just the next logical step for Damien Leone to just go even harder than part 2? I mean, do you think that it's the proper growth for him, or is there something else you want to see from him?
Well, yeah, like I said, if you're gonna have a sequel, especially now we're on 3, so this is 2 sequels in the Terrifier thing at least. Like we said, he's been in 5 movies total, but Art has. But now that he's got his own run here, like, yeah, I think just keep building on that. Yeah, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see what else he does. Like, I'm curious to see what other kind of movies he would make. But this is kind of his bread and butter magnum opus of a character. I mean, you're hitting it and it's hitting the right way. So, and like we've said, I appreciate Damien Leone and the fact that he's like, I don't care. I'm just going to make what the fuck I want to make. And again, something that's unapologetic. Yeah, something that's unapologetic as Terrifier. It's like I've said it in a text as we've talked about that early 2000s era of like grindhouse style stuff and
Yep.
the real gory stuff that finally came in, which was that nice breath of fresh air again back into horror in the early 2000s, like with Saw, with the remake of Texas Chainsaw, the remake of Halloween. That's what it needed. And I'm like, see, the other side of that sword though is like, okay, but then where do we go from there? And this kind of surprised me. And I'm like, oh no, we could take this a few steps further. That's what he's done. So I'm like, look, you know what? I'll ruin a kill for you right now. I didn't think I'd see a bitch get a fucking tube shoved down her fucking throat, rats thrown in her throat, and then cut open.
How great was that? Oh my God,
like,
that was tremendous.
Huh? She's already dead. Now you're just doing it to do it, you little shit. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, like I'm forgetting the spoilers, and we're getting into some graphic stuff here. But I'm telling you, like I was like, okay, that's a new one for me. Art. I will say, Art is definitely a fan of Texas Chainsaw in this movie, which again, I'm not mad by. That was pretty.
Leatherface has competition, buddy. That's all I'm saying. Chainsawing is not strictly his game alone anymore. He has competition, so we'll see.
Yeah, I was like, not only is he a fan of Texas Chainsaw, but I noticed in the first 5 minutes of this movie, he's obviously a fan of The Shining, because I'm like, that little goofy fucker really put his face in the door like he was Jack Torrance. I'm like, okay, really? That's funny. That's one of the moments that made me smile.
I was like, yeah, you're allowed. You're allowed.
It's shot the same way. She's like up against a door, then the axe handle, boom, or the blade comes through, and the door cuts open. I'm like, I swear, if he pokes his face, damn it. He's just like in the door. I'm like, okay, dude. He's definitely a fan of Jason X. If you know, you know. Yeah. So another thing in his little magic bag of goodies that he liked to carry around.
Yeah.
A little science project, I'd say. Yeah, man. I said, like, there's some over the top shit in this movie, and that's, like I said, that's what surprised me about it. And I'm glad we went there. So I'm saying, we're teetering on an edge here, where I'm like, I think I saw something that I think it was Damien Leone talking to somebody who was like in Europe somewhere. It might have been like France. He said, like, we got like the worst, like, not rating. I think he's like, we got a pretty hard, almost like ban on our movie, because like it's not like you have a parent or somebody over the age of 18 accompanying you to this movie. It was like, no, you're flat out, unless you're fucking 18 years old, you are not allowed to see this movie. I'm like, that's insane, and that's actually kind of awesome. I'd wear that as a badge of honor. He was like, yeah, they haven't slapped that on a movie since like 2006 over there. I was like, that's crazy. It's a little different here in America, but I was like, man, that's crazy. In other parts of the world, your shit's being like teetering on the point of being like banned. So you're doing something right. In this day and age, like I said, we can watch The Exorcist, and like, yeah, The Exorcist is kind of cuddly now compared to stuff we've seen, but to current year of our Lord, to have something that's like almost banned, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't, I talked about it being as good as Terrifier 2. That's both good and bad to me. It's good because Terrifier 2 was a good movie that I enjoyed, and I'm glad that this one was as good. I don't necessarily think, and I'm going to watch the movie at least one more time in theaters, and probably again when it comes out. I don't know that I saw a great deal of growth. There was a few story elements here I wasn't really happy with.
There was one that pissed me off.
Parts of it didn't flow very well. One of my really small gripes that I'm already kind of over, but I noticed it as I was watching it, is we had the start of the movie, phenomenal, one of the great horror movie beginnings of all time. And then the movie slows down a bit too much for me. Granted, we have to see where Sienna and her brother, we have to put the pieces in place for the chaos that will no doubt ensue for the next hour. But the movie slows down a bit too much for me. I didn't think we really needed that much exposition as to where everybody was at. I feel like you could have done it a little bit faster. But I mean, the story, it gets a little ethereal at the end. I mean, I get that there's some connection between her and between Sienna and Art, but it's kind of like they try to get a little bit too spiritual, too too weird about it, because that's usually where a lot of TV shows go wrong. It's like when it gets to be.
Well, hang on a minute.
The one show I didn't watch. Hold on. The one show I never watched it, but I know people that have that said
Lost?
it was terrible. Not Lost. That's that too. But I mean, that's
that got weird.
The fucking thing about that they based on Archie comics. Riverdale.
Yeah,
Riverdale.
That movie went from being like a teen drama to over the course of 2 or 3 seasons morphing into basically another fucking supernatural. And they were like, none of this made sense. And I kind of felt like at times was dipping into that a little bit, especially towards the end. But I'm like, I don't really, I don't, maybe I'm going to have to watch the next movie to see how this plays out. I wasn't really feeling it, but I mean, again, if I take all, we're going to get another one. But let's just face it, there's going to be a 4th one that comes out.
Yeah.
But once I sit and watch all 4 movies in a row and get the big picture, the whole mosaic, maybe it'll make a little more sense. We won't bother me as much. But for this film, it did kind of not sit well with me. It didn't take me out of the movie, but I was like, I don't feel like it was. I don't feel like that part of the story, of the overall story, progressed enough over the course of this film to make much sense to me. That's kind of one of my knocks. And that's to me, that comes down to Damian Leone being kind of a rookie storyteller. I mean, we know he does the visual stuff great. He's done all the makeup for stuff like this, other movies. That's fine. But storytelling is very different than, putting the mask on and making someone look like their arms falling off and stuff like that. Very different kind of thing. Very different kind of stuff you're trying to put forward. And I think maybe it's just a rookie mistake, and I'm hoping he'll get better at it. I didn't really see that out of this movie. Not that the movie was bad. Not that it made the movie bad. It's just something that I noticed. What were you going to say, Tex?
Well, I was going to say, now I'm going back to whenever we reviewed Terrifier 1. Your biggest complaint was lack of story. So when Leone finally gives you, now to be fair, he doesn't spell the whole story out. He gives you kind of the overlay and the overarching what it's going to be, with the spiritual side of the devil and kind of trying to take over the earth, one victim at a time. And the spirit has to, infect bad people, basically. So, like, I guess my question is, did you just not like the story that they told, or did you think he didn't do it well? Like,
no,
what did you get?
It's not the story. I don't know why the hell that was. Yeah.
You're echoing really bad.
Oh God.
Oh, he's gone. Okay.
No,
well, either way, like,
I was trying to do something and I screwed it up. But no, it's not the overall story. I don't think the storyline that he's putting out there progressed enough in this film. I like the story. Some connection between Art and Sienna. I get it. It has something to do with her dad. I get it. I don't really like the one scene, the couple of scenes that we get to see Jason Patrick. I don't think that does. I don't think it really affects anything. It doesn't.
Well, that
didn't really explain much more, but it was at least kind of.
Well, that I can agree with. That, see, I've got questions about the dad, because there were reshoots for this movie. I think that was part of the reshoots because that felt tacked on afterwards. Now, my personal theory, because, go back to Terrifier 2 here. Seeing his dad, he got like a brain tumor. He went crazy. He got abusive, and he drove into a power, whatever, a light pole or whatever, right? I think Sienna's dad is a scribe from heaven, God, whatever you want to say, of the coming evil. Think about it. Everybody else calls Art the Miles County Clown. They don't call him Art besides a certain few people. Sienna's dad drew all of the things in that book that Jonathan had in Terrifier 2 here, including the picture of Art where, they reveal it in Terrifier 2. I think Sienna and Jonathan's dad was shown this from heaven or whatever as a warning, kind of like, he's John the Revelator from the Bible or somebody, of the devil. If the devil is sending his emissaries, obviously the light side has to send theirs, right? So somebody has to tell the story, like a John the Baptist or whatever. I think that's Sienna's dad, and the evil that was within his head was so powerful that it overtook him and drove him to do what he did. And to keep himself from becoming part of that evil, he killed himself. I think that's what happened with the dad.
But it doesn't come close to explaining that, though, because they have that scene where
no, of course not. We're just getting the beginnings of it. No, I agree with.
We're not in the beginnings of this, because you spent the entire second movie setting all this shit up. You got to give me some big pieces in this movie, because I mean, not knowing until yesterday when I was doing some reading if there would even be another Terrifier after this. You really have to walk a lot of steps down that path in this movie, and he walked none. So we have that moment where her dad has that seizure, or that moment where he goes into like Biden mode and just kind of locks up, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And that's never addressed again in the movie as to what that was. And I'm like, if you're going to wait until a fourth movie to explain that, that's kind of crappy, because you need that to push the pieces down the board to what's going to come next in what will be a potential fourth movie. And they didn't do that. So I was left wondering, what does that mean? You can't ask that many questions and then not answer at least a couple of them to push us down the road. You got to answer a lot of questions that we had from the second movie, pose new questions in this one, and then eventually answer them in the fourth one. There was no real answering of any questions.
Don't buy cheap makeup, by the way.
There was. I was wondering if you'd be able to go the whole stream with that stuff on. But,
I mean, I'd do it.
But
don't buy the Walmart crap. It gets in the eyeball.
Go to Spirit. Buy the high end stuff. But
buy some bed dye, man. It's good.
It never really explains anything further about their connection, because it explains in the second one that they're connected somehow, and in this one you have a couple of scenes with their dad that remind you there's a connection, and there's no further explanation past that. And I'm like, I needed a little bit of exposition on that part, and they never gave me any, because those scenes with her dad would have been perfect for that, but it never happens.
One part I will agree with you with is Damian Leon does so much within his own movies, which I appreciate. He's a true artist. He takes the kind of like the John Carpenter or the Rob Zombie approach of doing as much of his own film as he possibly can. I think he needs not a screenwriter, but maybe somebody to help storyboard along a little bit, because he's so great at many things. But speeding along a story, I will agree with. Now, where I would argue is, I mean, he only had $2 million to make this movie. And when you're coming to a Terrifier film, you're not coming for the story. I mean, let's just be real here. You're coming to see, how is Art the Clown going to massacre as many people as possible this time? And the story is kind of secondary in this franchise. It's part of the charm. It's the same reason why you went to a Final Destination movie, to see how are people going to weirdly die in that franchise. That's part of the deal. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the why matters, though. So if it was just another 2 hours,
I'm not saying it doesn't,
of Art hacking people up like it was in the first movie, I'd be like, why? What's the point? I mean, give me. It's like you being such a fan of the visual stuff. I mean, that's great for you, but I want story. There's story to Freddy. He's got a background. There's story to Michael. He's got a background. There's story to Jason. He's got a background. I mean, if you're going to give me a story about Art that connects him somehow to Sienna, then tell the story. Don't just say they're connected and then ignore some of the finer points of it for an entire movie.
Because like the demon bitch even like gets in her face and says like, "Oh, I see why they picked you." I'm like, "Who? The fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Who is she supposed to be?
We already know about the whole familiar or whatever the hell the girl from the last movie is, the little crazy girl that's dressed like. We already know that he's got this little side demon that he has to have. Yeah, we already know he has to have this little side demon. So
she's like a vessel to keep him alive.
Yeah, well, if that's what Amanda Scaffidi is in this movie, great. Explain more of that, because you just gave me another character like the girl from the last movie. You didn't explain what the hell the importance of that character is.
Well, in this one, they did go pretty heavy-handed with the fact that she had literally a fucking crown of thorns on her head.
Yeah.
And the only part of her body that was fucked up was like the tops of her hands. I'm like, well, it wasn't a nail, but like, you know.
Yeah.
I got. I'm like, okay. I was watching it. I'm like, now, while I think the warrior angel thing was a lot more badass, and I think she kicked a lot of ass in it, I'm like, okay, but a cool little gold Christmas sweater and a Crown of Thorns. That's the best you could fucking do. Okay. It fit with the Christmas theme, but I'm like, okay, I don't believe that. I feel like that peak was like, again, I thought it was sweet that she got that. She became that character that we saw the drawing of with her dad in this movie. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Now she's just swinging around the sword again with a crown of thorns and a cute Christmas sweater. I'm like, okay.
Well, when it as far as the Pale Girl and Vicky go, you have to go because initially I didn't know why the Pale Girl wasn't in this film. I had to go back and rewatch Terrifier 2.
The little girl?
Go back and the Pale Girl is the little girl, but the Pale Girl's her name.
Yeah, because I'm like, they just
go back and watch.
Dad never mentioned her again. I was like, okay.
Well, go back and watch the ending of 2. Once Sienna cuts off his head, she comes in, picks it up, and carries it off. What do we see next? We see Vicky in a mental hospital giving birth to that head. And when we go to this film, we find out the context of all of these people that we have seen with the yellow eyes that I talked about on one of the 2 Terrifier reviews that we did. They're the victims of art. The Pale Girl was his first victim when he first started. Vicky was his victim in Terrifier 1. Vicky takes, like, the spirit that was in the Pale Girl, leaves her, goes into Vicky for this movie, because once Vicky dies at the end of this film, look at Art's eyes. They go from being the yellow and red all possessed back to being white and normal. So that spirit left him in that moment in time. So realistically, at the end of this movie, whenever he's sitting on that bus, he's back to human again, as far as we know. I mean, we know that this is not just Art the Clown, the Miles County Clown, whatever you want to go with. This is a heaven versus hell kind of agenda, which is why I love this character, because he's not just a slasher. He's a mix of Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers, and then there's like this Evil Dead side of good and bad thrown into it. That makes it such a much bigger world. And, you know, there's so much to break down on this. I could do hours talking about just this one movie alone and the lore behind it. But it's, y'all go ahead, please.
Well, let's move on now and talk about the cast. I mean, most of the same cast from the original film. I'll go to this picture first. Most of the same cast from the original film. A couple of additions. Some were kind of side players. The big one, obviously, was Jason Patrick as her dad. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. What do you think of the cast of the film? Who stood out to you the most?
Well, obviously, Art the Clown always stands out for me. But yeah, I think the cast works. And again, we've got a 5-year jump ahead in time from the last time we saw all this happen. So it kind of stood to reason that, okay, so now we're bringing in like the aunt and that side of the family with Sienna and having come out of like a mental hospital and whatnot, and trying to get better for the shit she went through. And given the age, I'm like, okay, so now her brother's like in college. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it all made sense for where everyone was at. And I would say the person, and I thought about this because, again, you know how I am with the cast. I think my favorite person, though, was actually Cole, Jonathan's roommate.
He was cool.
Blonde lock. I was like,
bro needs to get laid.
Because I was like, I like this guy because it's like he's kind of douchey, but like, it's like he cares. Like he kind of treats.
He was a good dude, though. He took care of Jonathan.
Yeah, he said he's like like an older brother to Jonathan. Really, he's like, I'm gonna watch out for him, but I'm gonna bust his balls every once in a while, And I'm like, I like this guy, and he's at least, he's got a heart, and I'm like, I identify with this character. I'm like, I can be a douche, I'm like, but I care. Trust me, I might break your balls, but I really do care about you. He at least tells the somewhat one-dimensional character of Mia like, dude, you're an asshole, like, and it's embarrassing that like you're this obsessed with Jonathan and also Sienna and this whole Art the Clown thing just because you have a true crime podcast. And I'm like, at least he's like telling her like, "Bitch, you need to chill." Seriously.
Yeah, but
Like,
she
this
was
goes
really,
beyond
really hot, though. I would have let her gotten away with it.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't fucking matter because I know exactly what character she is. I'm like, just die because I don't care about you. Like, I knew what her role in this movie was gonna be.
Actually,
But like
she
I said,
fulfilled half of her role, but I'll get into that later.
Yep, I was right. I already know what the two things are. He's pissed off because he didn't see a pair of tits. I was already right.
That's one of the things. That's one of the things.
Okay, hold on. Is number 2 to do with Jonathan?
Yes, damn it, you know me too well. We have spent too much time podcasting together. You know my methods.
No, because as soon as you said that, then I watched the movie. I was like, no, I think me and him are about to agree on this one. I'm like, that was stupid.
Yeah.
There was a story point that was stupid, but I'm also like, who cares? I don't care if there weren't any tits. We didn't see him quick enough for him before they got fucking chainsawed in half. Like, I don't care.
That wasn't the important part of that scene, though.
No, but the important part was, hey, she got her
automatic half-point deduction for no nipple in a slasher movie. Automatic half-point deduction.
I think there was, but I'm like, it had a chainsaw blade going through it. But yeah, she got her wish, man. She got to get right up in Ert's face, kind of. So I guess whatever, wish fulfilled. Yeah, I think we're going to talk about the thing with Jonathan because that actually kind of pissed me off a little bit.
I've got theories about that too.
Now I do have an admendium to that, a little asterisk at the end of it, but we'll get to that. But like I said, his roommate Cole, I think was my favorite because I feel like that's the closest character to like personality wise to someone like me, you know. So I'm like, I like this guy. It's too bad what happened, you know. Suck to suck.
Tex, how about you? What do you think of the cast of the film, and who stood out to you the most, other than Art, obviously, who kind of carries this film the way?
Well, yeah, David Howard Thornton. Yeah, I won't go on too much about David Howard Thornton, but I do have to say that scene where he meets Santa Claus and that child, like, oh my God, just the way that he reacts to Santa Claus, that made. Like I said, I saw this 5 times in theater. Every time, that's the entire whoever was there was laughing at that scene. That was tremendous. Like, you could tell that David Howard Thornton has really took the acting classes up to another level, like a silent film acting level kind of thing.
That's hard.
But no, besides him,
yeah,
right, yeah, no, Samantha Scaffidi as Vicky, I was so happy to see her back and in a major role because, I mean, yeah, you get her in the beginning of Terrifier 1 and at the end of 2, basically. But other than that, she's just a side character. And I don't know if y'all saw the posters or not that they released prior to the film coming out, but she got her own poster of her face and it said The Witch across the front of it. So I knew she was going to have a major role.
That's cool.
And I love what they did with her. They took literally the pale girl, which in Terrifier 2, she was kind of an observer of art. Like the spirit, and not just her, but the spirit that was within her. It was, the pale girl was kind of just to get art to Sienna and just watch, kind of facilitate. Whereas Vicky got involved. I mean, obviously, whenever those two guys are coming into the very Black Christmas looking scene house where Art's sitting there like Billy in the rocker from Black Christmas, and Art takes that straight razor and just right down the middle of old boy's head, and she's over there diddling herself with that broken shard of glass. Jesus Christ.
He definitely got involved, I think. Yeah.
Every woman in the theater, whenever I saw this movie, was squirming in their seats like it was nothing when that scene happened.
That's the one I was talking about where I'm like, I just saw that happen. I really just watched. Okay.
Wow. Oh yeah. And
I was like, are we really doing
when they get to the end of the film and Vicky is talking to Sienna and she puts that crown of thorns with the razor blades on her head, you're not the savior. You're not this very Evil Deadite, that's why I say this has got some Evil Dead kind of nostalgia to it. And she tries to possess her. Like, that scene was tremendous. Like, you can tell it wasn't done very expensively, but I love how they worked that scene. There's no hope for you. There is no God. I don't know why they picked you, blah, 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 blah. It's like, even somebody as jaded as myself as a horror fan, I could feel the creepiness coming out of her. Whenever she screams, "There's no good, there's no God," or whatever she says, I loved that scene. But I thought Vicky was amazing into this film. You know, whenever Chris Jericho's standing there in the hallway, "Please help me, this was all his idea." And then she just starts laughing like the Joker or something as she rips the dude's jaw off. Oh my God, that was great. Vicky was tremendous. I need a Vicky Funko Pop for my Terrifier shelf, so I need one of those.
Yeah, we'll need to find. I'll need to find one of those. not not the pre Terrifier. I want this version of Vicky.
Right.
This version of Vicky is what we need.
I need the Vicky just messed up. I need the Art the Clown messed up version of her. I need all of them. I can show you my Terrifier shelf. I've got it all, buddy. It's all good. So I got it covered.
We believe it.
I think we saw in the background there when you were prepping your Art the Clown mask. I was right
next
is
to
that sitting on a whole shelf of Art the Clown?
Hang on.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll show you. But y'all talk while y'all talk and I'll show you.
Yeah. I mean, the cast. I mean, look, the cast is fine. I like Jason Patric coming in as a father. I think he's been around a minute. He's a seasoned actor. I remember him all the way back to The Lost Boys, of course, which are my favorite films. But he adds a little bit of gravitas, a little bit of fatherly energy to the whole thing, just at the right time. I was kind of disappointed we didn't get more of her brother. I mean, I don't really. The way it goes for him at the end of the movie,
I don't like Johnson's character.
It was kind of anticlimactic how it happened for him at the end. I just wasn't. I wasn't overly impressed with the way that it went down, but at the same time, he was so insignificant this entire movie. It kind of didn't matter. Yeah, it's actually have a problem.
It's only a problem if you admit that there is one.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, Casey might be on to something.
Problem is,
by the way, your tagline into your name is very alarming.
Well, Casey is wrong. You know, some of us don't think like a prevert like you, and we think it's more of as a ha funny statement. But whatever, it's all good.
The Renegade Joe Comp in the chat. What's up, brother? I haven't really been looking at the chat much since I started this. Sorry, I didn't mean to miss you guys. But yeah, it's Sienna Art carry the film. Obviously, there's not really a whole lot of room for anybody else to stand out. I do like Jeremy said, the roommate. He was not just the typical goofy guy. He does seem sincere in the way he wants to try to protect Jonathan, which I thought was kind of cool because they are obviously two very different people. We've seen so many comedies of various kinds where you have the two college roommates that are very opposite people, and that's all the hijinks ensue. But the fact that he was really the opposite of Jonathan, but at the same time kind of on his side, I thought was kind of refreshing for the moments in the movie that was important. But like I said, I mean, there was a different kind of fatherly energy, a calming sense that I got from Jason Patric when he was on screen. He wasn't on screen nearly enough. Again, I talked about how they didn't really explain a lot, despite the fact that they had him there to be some of that exposition. But, I mean, he does add a certain amount of, like I said, gravitas, a certain amount of experience, a certain amount of organized energy, if I'm even saying that right, to a movie that, has seen Art blow up a ball full of kids and hack up a family. Spend the first 20 minutes of the film hacking up a family. I mean, he brings a different. Because every good horror movie kind of has these moments that aren't horror. They're either comedy or they're good dialogue. All the great horror movies have those things, and I think that's kind of what he does in this movie. Then maybe I think the second movie lacked a little bit. I mean, it was still a much better film than the first one, but he brings that extra little thing that makes this movie just a bit different from the last one that I think is actually really needed. So, I mean, again, Art, Sienna carry the entire film. It's all about them, but he brought it different feelings to the screen.
I'm surprised Tex didn't say that his favorite character was actually the bystander who saw all the shit go down in the mall, who looked an awful lot like Tom Savini. But I mean,
I couldn't find a picture of, dude. I swear to God, one of the insane about these newer movies is I can't get some of the screen grabs that I really want.
There were three horror icons.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tom Savini is the most recognizable, but the other two, did y'all recognize them? In the Santa Claus scene, Daniel Roebuck from Rob Zombie movie fame was Santa Claus in this film. He played Grandpa Munster. He played the priest in 31, that death head or that doom head butchers with an axe. He played Santa Claus in this film, and the guy with the big beard sitting next to him is Mr. Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother. Another horror icon for so many films. Evil Speak. He's done a ton of horror stuff. He's just one of those guys that Ice Cream Man is probably my favorite Clint Howard movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a very creepy 90s horror, like kind of a kid horror movie. It's very weird, but that either that or Evil Speak. But yeah, Tom Savini, Clint Howard, and then Daniel Roebuck were amazing to see in this film. So got to get your legends in there.
Mm-hmm.
But a cast that is buoyed by the two main stars did have some people kind of around the fringes that were very, very good. Let's talk about the plot now. I mean, obviously, Art doing his thing, Art doing Art things. I'll go to you first, Tech. Plot of the movie, again, it kind of progresses a little bit, kind of Art and Sienna, this dance that they're going to do around and towards each other until, in whatever movie they make, this finally comes to a climax. Not overly different from the second movie, but still pretty good. Tex, what do you think of the plot? Was there anything you'd have changed, or did it work for you?
Yeah, I would have done the Snyder cut of this movie and made it 5 hours longer. But I'm a hardcore fan base of this. Yeah, no, I thought the plot worked. Is it light? Yes, but like I said, this is Terrifier. This is not Shakespeare. You're not going in here looking for plot-heavy details. The way that Damian Leon laid this story out, if you know this franchise, their story beats through this whole thing, which I've seen so many people complain about. Oh, there's no plot, there's no story. No, you just don't know the franchise of what you're talking about, is what it seems like to me. And the little hints, like the book that you see at the end of the movie, The Ninth Circle. Obviously, that was the short where all of this started. Which by the way, The Ninth Circle and All Hallows Eve are not canon to the Terrifier films. No. They're just he's kind of doing a Sam Raimi thing with how Evil Dead and then Evil Dead 2 was just a remake of the same stuff. Basically, what he's doing here, but he's kind of refining the material and making it better. But plot-wise with this movie, I like how we opened up the mythology. I like when Sienna's visiting Jonathan at the college, and she's going through her, notebook, and she pulls out the piece of paper that said, "Oh, well, demons have to attach to a bad person that died," which, boom, right there, there's your backstory for Art. He was just a serial killer. He was a nobody. Very Michael Myers. He just happened to be the vessel that the soul of the demon inhabited. I love that Art wasn't just, anybody. He was a nobody. The little hints and the nods to the overarching story, like when Sienna has that dream where she sees the demon guy being held by the Virgin Mary, making the real version of her Valkyrie armor. Was that a dream? Was it a vision? We'll see in the future film. But he lays out these plot bits within the movie that if you know this franchise, it's amazing to see. And yeah, 99% of the people going to watch this movie are like, oh my God, he just put a chainsaw up old boy's ass. Oh my God. They completely missed the forest for the trees. There is plot, there is story here. And if you took the time to, I feel like Jeremy and Rachel, whenever we were doing the Five Nights at Freddy's thing, and they're going way over my head with plot details, so I'm kind of doing nothing. But
there can be
there's the plot stories here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, this is what I'm saying. There is lore here. You just have to know what you're talking about. This is the fifth movie that Damen Leon has done this through. He's got a plan. I trust this dude. If he makes 15 more of these, guess what? I'll be there first time. I'll buy 5 tickets to each one of them, Damen Leon. Put me in one. I want to have Arthur Clarence kill me in one of your movies. Make it as bloody as possible. I don't care. I'm down. So let's do this thing.
Jeremy, what do you think about the plot of the movie? Again, not too much different from the last movie, but still kind of just how these movies tend to work. Was there anything you could change about the plot, or did it work for you?
Well, first of all, now that I have the sunflower glasses, now I need a pair of these damn Christmas tree sunglasses that he wears.
I
So
was thinking the same
No,
thing.
Joe,
Where can
I have
find
been
these?
looking and I haven't found them.
yeah, I'm like, I
Spirit
don't know,
Halloween has the sunflower ones, but not those.
Yeah, I mean, because this was a little newer, so I imagine maybe next year they'll have something marketed for it. But I'm like, yeah, like you said, right now I could not find something close, so I don't know. I want to keep my eye open for it.
I look.
Excuse me. Yeah, there they are. Yeah. They could just be custom.
Great sunglasses.
Sure they'll probably market
As
them.
I'm a sunglass savant. I love my sunglasses, and I'm picky about my sunglasses. So I can appreciate art in his sunglass game. I appreciate what he's doing, so I dig it.
Yeah. No, as for the plot, I can see both of your points where like Tex is saying it's like it could build up and there is gonna be more, and I would assume there's gonna be more to be explained. It's like I'm getting little nuggets of it, and I'm invested, and I want to know what this means because I'm still sitting here. But I'm like Frank, where I'm like, but you didn't really explain it. I'm like, we saw the dad finally because the dad seemed like a pretty important character to this whole thing, and I'm like, okay, but what does it mean? You can give me some things without giving it away, but you can't just leave me there literally asking like, okay, but what did any of that fucking mean? Like, if I have to guess, I mean, I don't mind speculating and debating, which is what makes it fun. I'm like, okay, she's clearly some sort of like, angel to like art being, a demon, basically. Is what it comes down to. And there's some lore and mythology to it, which is cool. So maybe that'll get a little further explained. But I don't mind waiting for it. It's like he said about Five Nights, where it's like, yeah, it didn't happen all in one. Even by the time the third game came out, it's like, okay, but it's not to the crazy fucking degree of lore that there is now. So let them cook, let it stew. I'm sure we'll see it.
Well, okay, Jeremy, hang on. Let me pose this question to you.
Okay.
Okay, Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking whenever Rob Zombie explained everything. The original intent of the character. Whenever you didn't know anything about him more than he killed his sister at 6, spent 15 years in the asylum, and then broke out and killed people. How many movies were made just off of that alone?
Well, yeah, like that's what art seems to me.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's kind of similar.
Like, is there a motivation? And I'm like, not really, but I'm like, but does there need to be one? Like we said with Michael Myers,
no,
it was just explained by Dr. Loomis. I'm like, yeah, he's just evil. He's just pure evil. I'm like,
just purely, simply evil. Yeah, that's all you need.
And that's why I'm like, I don't need a backstory of art. I'm just like, okay, well, if he's just evil, I'm like, I don't really get what his maybe not his motivation, but like if we're having this connection with him and Sienna, I'm like, maybe explain that. I'm like, I don't care that he's just mindlessly killing people because he just seems to have fun with it. So.
You're also comparing two very different eras of filmmaking because back in the 70s when Halloween was becoming the thing.
Well, to be fair,
the way the stories were crafted back then were very different because audiences were very different.
Oh, no, I get
that. The modern audience needs that connective tissue because they can't just watch, Jason Voorhees come back from space, get reassembled by magic, and then kill a bunch of people in Manhattan anymore. They want some connective tissue. Makes it all make sense. The modern audience does.
To argue that, though,
you get away with that kind of thing.
To argue that point, though, is this style of grindhouse not emulating that 70s, 80s style to even the grainy film that you see Terrifier 3 in? So does it not make sense to emulate the story plot points of one of those movies, though?
Visually,
you know what I'm saying?
It does. Visually, it does by far.
Well, not like Texas Chainsaw really had a. They're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna, kill and eat people.
Texas Chainsaw, a van full of hippies break into people's houses and get chainsaw for it. There's your plot. Okay, just say it.
That's an oversimplification, I think. But I mean,
true. But I'm saying,
okay, broaden it out for me then.
They tried and it got fucking weird, man. We had Matthew McConaughey and
that's what I'm saying.
We got a little too weird. Okay,
right. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah,
but I like the story that he's trying to tell about this connection between art and cinema.
No, I think it's cool. Like,
Yeah, I just don't think that he's exactly progressed it in this movie the way that I would have liked to have seen it done.
Like I said, there's something here, and if I'm to believe, but the thing that kind of confused me about when Sienna was explaining to what the fuck was the little girl's name? God damn it, the little girl.
The niece, not Jenny.
Niece.
I can't remember either.
Yeah,
she was good in this movie. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, she was good. I feel bad that I don't remember what her damn name was.
It's like Gemma or Jenna or something like that.
Something like that. That sounds right.
They're really not going to tell me what the hell her name is? All right, well, fuck her. Anyway, but you know what I'm talking
about. Fuck all the kids in this movie.
She went straight to hell. Straight to hell. When she's explaining to her about the sword, she's like, "Oh, did you like really kill this like clown with a magic sword?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "Oh, that would have been really cool, though." I'm like, "So was it not?" I'm like, "Did you just?" And then like you straight up were like, "No, that bitch is magical. It does something, I guess." That it's supposed to be like this almost like this god-killing fucking demon-slaying sword that can't hurt her, which is actually kind of a cool, twist that we saw. I was slightly confused, like when she cut her hands open and all of a sudden she looks down and she turned into fucking Wolverine. She just healed. I was like, why the fuck? Oh wait, that's right. It can't hurt her.
Yeah,
I answered my own question. I was like, what the fuck? Now she can heal. I'm like, oh no, the sword can't hurt her. I'm like, so it is magic. I'm like, okay, I can get with that. I'm like,
well, no, it said the sword can't hurt her, which is why when he stabs her with it in the last movie, that wound just magically healed. He didn't hurt her with the sword. He hit her hands with a hammer. So now they're saying the sword also heals her. Which I was like, either that or she just happened to be able to pick up the sword and do stuff with her hands all bashed and whatever.
Well, I was wondering if that was what healed. Like, I think the underside of her hand got cut, but I don't know if the top of her hand that Art smashed got healed. Because that wasn't the cause of it. I thought it was like the sword itself couldn't.
They don't show the tops of her hands being healed. They show her palms being.
I wonder, because she looks down. I thought she was going to turn her hands over for a quick second to check. And I was like,
yeah, no, they don't show they don't show the backs being healed. All they show was the palms.
Yeah, I'm like, because that actually harmed her. So I'm like, okay, well,
that's one of those. That's one of those moments where I willingly turned my brain off. Was like, I get that watching it, but I'm going to let this happen because I'm in the moment. So
yeah, I was like, sure, why not?
Well,
yeah, that was
but
there's, like I said, there's still more to kind of be explained. I liked like we said, the fact that Vicky was now a little bit more of a central character to this whole thing, that she's the vessel that to put in like a Harry Potter term, I was like, she's kind of like a Horcrux that kind of keeps Voldemort alive. Like, she's the reason that this is the thing, the rope you have to cut in order to get to him now. And when she like kind of killed her, and then I thought it was like it was anyone who recently died, because I'm like, okay, well, the aunt just died, and you see that blood like bubbling up and coming towards her. I was like, oh shit, this is that stuff in like the last 30 seconds of the movie where it's all going the fuck off. I'm like, you gotta. I know she's having that moment where she's like, oh, I could kill him. I'm like, but you're not going to for sequel reasons, are you? You're gonna do something stupid and like save your niece, like something stupid like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But I will say, I think the other thing that did piss me off, which I was already called before Tex even said it. Now, my asterisk to it is, I know it's like it was a mind game that the demon Vicky said, like, oh look, that's your daughter, ha ha ha, in this cage being eaten by rats, and I'm like, no, it's not, you dumb. I didn't believe that for a second either. I'm like, you wouldn't just, oh, you would just, but with the brother, oh, okay, what? And, well, also kind of the dad too. I'm like, you just kind of casually killed the dad and made him the top of the Christmas tree. I'm like, okay, when did that happen? Okay,
yeah, but I knew the minute I saw the uncle, he was just meat for the shredder for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like his only job was to die violently at some point in this movie. That was all he.
I know we were having
him and the podcasting girl. I was like, yeah, you guys are done. It's just a matter of time.
No, I knew that we were all screaming like from dude from Jamie Kennedy from Scream. As soon as the uncle goes,
Randy.
he's gonna go pick up Randy. When he goes to pick up Jonathan, he's like, "I'll be right back." I'm like, "Motherfucker, don't say that. You're gonna."
I knew it. Yeah.
You dumb bitch. You're gonna die. I'm like, well, goodbye, dude. I've never seen you again. But they're like, "Oh yeah, that wasn't her," and I'm like, "Who the fuck's head is that?" I'm like, and then you're like, "I'm gonna put the glasses on." I'm like, "Really? It's the That's how you're gonna do that? Really? Okay." Because there was something else that they didn't really explain. That like I didn't catch who it was. That I tried to read the message beforehand, but he like texts somebody and says like, "Oh, Sienna came back. It's getting worse." And it clutches his chest and like he just falls on his bed.
But then he throws the phone. He doesn't send that text message though. If you pay attention.
I'm like, so what does that mean? Who is he talking to? And why did he just clutch his chest and fall over on the bed and go to sleep? And then now he's just a head inside of a cage. What? And then you kill him off screen. Now, like I said, my big asterisk to that is I didn't see it happen. I didn't see a body. I don't know for a fact that happened. And I don't really think you would cheap out that, like, you guys did, like we talked about Final Destination. You did that with the main character of Final Destination. You're just like, oh yeah, he died off camera. Who cares? I'm like, what? Between the first movie and second movie, I'm like, sure. That was dirty. Okay. I feel like that was a little too cheap to have done. Like, whether how important you think Jonathan is to the story, I'm just still like, yeah, but you shouldn't just casually be like, oh, just because I put glasses on this little head, I'm like, oh, that's supposed to be him. Sure. I don't know.
See, I've got a theory about that though. When it comes to the whole Jonathan thing, I think it was purposely left the way that it was. They lied to you. Oh, here's your daughter. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Actually, it's your brother. No, they're not. They've already shown that they don't mind lying to you about who somebody is. But at the same time, I don't think they would do that twice because it wouldn't pay off the same. They wouldn't lie about who that skull was twice. Because then if it's somebody else, literally everybody else that we've seen in this movie is dead by that point. It's not the roommate. It's not the girlfriend. They're still in the shower over there dead. The uncle's nailed to the wall. Aunt's in the chair. We've already seen the niece. We know she's alive. So that skull has to be Jonathan's. Where my theory comes from this is I think it was purposely left open to how the fans respond to this, like on social media. Like if Damian Leon sees that people don't really care if Jonathan dies, then that was his death. That's just, it is what it is. But if he sees that, oh my God, just like you said, we didn't see a body. He's not really dead. Perfectly open-ended to bring him back for Terrifier 4. Or there's a third part to this. We know we're going into hell for the part 4 with this, with the way this one ended. His soul had to go somewhere. You're telling me that maybe this is like an Eddie Munson thing from Stranger Things.
Right.
We had his human side up here, but in the upside down world or in the hell, whatever Terrifier world has, we get the underworld version of Jonathan. I could also see that happening too. So I don't know.
Also, we didn't necessarily see what happened to the little girl from the very beginning.
Right.
True.
He just opened up the cabinet and was just like, and that was it. I'm
like,
oh, well, okay.
We can make our assumptions. Considering how the rest of her
we didn't see her.
And could have shoved her little skull in the bag and just go with him. I don't know.
I know it's probably not technically canon to the film franchise, but if y'all watch the music video for this movie that Ice Nine Kills did, Arthur Clown is in it, and he literally births the baby and just takes it with him. Like he takes a woman's brand new born child. So it may or may not be canon to the story, probably not, but you know, maybe he's amassing children for his demon army or who knows what. I don't know. But it could be a thing. I mean, art is evolving. Well, let's not forget how art looks in this movie. His ears are now fused to his head. it's not grease paint on his face anymore. His entire head is that white makeup. Art is obviously evolving. So the story is changing as we go. Damian Leone's not technically telling it to you. He's making you pay attention to see the plot details that are coming out. So
hasn't his
all of this is evolving.
Hasn't his whole head and neck always been painted?
No.
I thought it was like
no, I
could have sworn
up until
that his whole head and neck were painted. It's been a minute.
No. Go back to the laundromat scene in Terrifier 2 where he's sitting there washing his clown outfit. He's got human skin tone and just the face paint on the front of his head. I've got a Funko Pop sitting right there of it on my shelf.
Or it could be an insignificant detail. Maybe just something they decided to do for this movie.
I don't think it is an insignificant detail because you clearly see literally his ears are pinned like to the back of his head, like to the back side of his head. And like it's a clearly distinctive, different design of Art the Clown. So I think that's part of it. I think as the story progresses, he becomes more evil. He becomes more demonic looking. I could very well see by the next film, whenever we're in hell or whatever, Art have some kind of devil horns or something. I could see Art evolving into that, which would be really cool to see, by the way.
Could be. Let's move on to this question. One of the staples of the franchise is exactly how he dispatches his various victims. So many kills to choose from. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. What's your favorite kill of this entire film?
Oh, man.
My favorite kill? Let's see. Yeah, I hear him thinking about it too. Man.
This is a hard one. This is not.
There were so. I mean, in the first movie, the kills were all very different. I mean, it's like one of the things that I've always thought was really interesting about the Saw franchise. It's like it doesn't just like he walks it like, Michael Myers walks with a knife and stabs people. He kind of does that to mostly everybody.
Yeah.
The Saw franchise, every kill is like this strange work of art. It's always different. Yeah. It does different things. There is a uniqueness to every death. This one is kind of the same thing. It's just way more brutal than anything else we've ever seen. I don't know. Jeremy, which one do you think may have been your favorite?
Let's see. I think I still the ant with the tube down her throat, and then you shoved rats into her throat, and then cut him open and let him back out. The amount of like hoops you went through, like you said, like the way it's as creative and just over the absolute top as it was, and I'm like, she's already dead, but like you're still just kind of going. It was like, was it the mom? She died in 2. It's like you're literally rubbing salt in the wound. And I'm like, dude, she's dead. Jesus Christ, that went on.
No, the salt in the wound was Sienna's friend. Mom got shotgun blasted in the face.
That's right. No, the friend, in the bedroom.
And then she got mashed potatoes shoved into the hole in her head at the dinner table, which was really cool.
Right. I think that's the one that I still remember because it was just absolutely ridiculous. So, because I'm not going to say like, having your ass crack extended from where it starts all the way to up your back now is not that's not an interesting kill. However, I don't know. I think that just for the amount of ridiculousness that happened in it was definitely the kill from the ant. I'll go with that one, I guess.
Tex, what about you? Again, there's a whole lot to pick from in this movie. There's got to be one that stood out to you that makes you
my gosh. I think my favorite kill was when the construction worker sees Art, very Black Christmas style in the attic, and he gets thrown on the ground, he gets the nail through the hand, and then he gets the razor blade through the head, and it rips his, face apart, and his skull is exposed as Vicky's over there diddling herself with the, glasses I mentioned earlier. That's probably my favorite, just because of how dark it was. But I got to give points to the exploding Christmas scene that I could not believe. I was shocked. Like I said, I was there for the Thursday night premiere of this. Full theater. The only seats that were open were where the cripple seats, where the handicaps go. And everybody in that screening, whenever he blew up those kids and then they showed the remnants of them, jaws were on the floor. Like I said, there were no spoilers. Everybody was going in fresh to this. And to see Art smile whenever he knows what's about to happen, and then boom, it goes off. That one of the best kills of the year. Is it creative? No, but it's effective. You can't argue that.
It's it's not only it's a kid. I'm like, oh, good God, he just blew up a kid.
It wasn't just a kid; they were all standing up there. So it's like I'm willing to.
There was like 10 kids up there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was when I finally got done watching this movie, I was like, I don't even know what to think about these kills. They were so
right.
Most of them were just
insane.
So next level. Even for a Terrifier movie, they were just next level insanity. The one was the shower scene. I mean, the little bit that they show in the trailer just
shower scene was great.
Justice. It's not quite as it's not quite as visually stunning and insane as watching him transect a young woman with the hacksaw like in the first movie, but it's close to it. And the way that the best part about it is when he gives him the chainsaw enema and then he flips him over. And then you kind of get that quick little view of the twig and berries as he's running the chainsaw up his groin area, up into his belly.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that was look. I have a strong enough stomach, but that was that one moment where I kind of crossed my legs. It's like it's like I'm feeling that a little bit of that for him. It's like there's something visceral. That scene was amazing. But like Tech said, that mall explosion, that was just terrorism.
Oh
I was like, that was so different. It's like I wasn't surprised he did it because I figured something was going to happen to the scene, but I was just like, that is just terrorism. That's different. That's not like he pulled out a knife and stabbed one of these kids in front of everybody else. That was something else. It was a different level that I was not expecting to see in this movie. Like I said, I expect Art to take a implement of torture and to beat somebody to death with it or do whatever, but I mean, the mass destruction of I'm going to walk away, leave this bag there. All the kids are going to raid it because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to blow up all these kids. That was different. That was something else. That was beyond horror movie.
Cut to a few minutes later in the movie, whenever it gets to the aunt and uncle's house, and they're playing a game at the table or something, and she's like, "Hey, Dad, come play a game." And he's like, "Hang on a minute, just a minute, honey," and you see the news broadcast where they're talking about it, and I was it the girl that asked, "Was this a terrorist attack?" And Dad's like, "Honey, I don't know what it is." Like the way that the uncle acted that scene out, it's like he just watched 9/11 happen or something. Like he really sold that scene. That's what was so effective about it. I mean, it was real. It worked.
Yeah, those kills were fantastic. I mean, look. Damian Leone, the one thing he does is he blocks out these kills amazingly. He is going balls out.
Oh, yeah.
I do not care about what the perceptions are of what the areas that you don't touch in a horror movie. I am touching them all, and you will enjoy my touch.
Hey, he went after kids. He went after animals with those. Whenever he froze the rat and bashed it open and then fed it to the other ones, and then he even went after the religious people with the crown of thorns and the bashing of the hands, the nail through the hand. He didn't care. That's why I love this movie so much. Mm-hmm. Nobody was safe. This is true horror right here. This is what it should be. And no, this is not the first time kids have died in a horror film. There is a alarming trend of alleged horror fans on Twitter that even have horror-themed Twitter accounts that, I'm shocked. This is not entertainment. Did you not see Halloween 3 where the freaking pumpkin mask turns the kid's head into like worms are falling? Kids die in all kinds of horror. This is Halloween 2018 did this. Michael Myers snapped a kid's neck. Why are so many of these sissy horror fans Or like, oh my God, a kid died in the film. This is like the 1500th time it's happened. Damien Leon just did it better. That's why it's so effective.
It is
he
shocking.
was
Girl.
unafraid to shove it in your face. Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Oh yeah. That's why it's so. That's why it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the future real quick. I mean, the future of Art the Clown. We know we're getting a fourth movie.
Yeah.
Where do you think we go from here? Not just story-wise, but also how does Damien Leone ramp it up a bit? I mean, I would be okay if he kind of kept it at this level of insanity, but I really don't feel like that's how he wants to operate in this universe. I don't know, Jeremy, where do you think Art goes from here? Again, we're going to get a fourth movie, but where do you think everything goes from here?
The next holiday, it's going to be Valentine's Day themed.
Yes.
That'd be kind of cool.
I swear to Christ, that's exactly what he's going to do. And then in the fifth movie, when he's got St. Patrick's Day, maybe like Warwick Davis walks out as a leprechaun, like, you know what I mean? Something dumb like that. I'm just saying, like, I wasn't, you know, in in movies that I'm like, it having a different tone or like theme to it, you know, like watching Joker 2 and then like watching this, I'm like, why is this a musical? Okay, that's a weird choice. Why is Terrifier 3 suddenly like Christmas? Okay, but that was interesting. I mean, and it was one quick scene like Tex mentioned before, like when, I mean, it's absolutely hilarious, and I'm like, oh, it's just as simple as like he literally turns into a fucking child when he sees a guy dressed up like Santa. I'm like, okay,
so funny.
like
so
if that's
good.
how it works, sure. I'm like, it just means that it happened to be set on that now. It's during Christmas time, but he just sees this guy who's portraying a Santa Claus, and he just
He
absolutely
even pissed on Santa's lap like a kid.
He really did. I know. God, that was awesome. I was like, that was one of the goofy things that made me laugh. I think the other thing that made me laugh about it was when the roommate Cole was talking to Mia, and she's like, it was a little far where she's like, I want to know what it's like. I want to know what it feels like to have him breathe in my
So
face.
like,
And I'm
well,
like,
fuck this guy.
and he's like, and she's like, no, and he's like, I'm like, oh, poor guy. Like, I wonder what he smells like, and he just like checks himself. I'm like, it's the physical comedy that this dude, like, he's got it. It's so fucking funny to watch.
One of the things I really
Thornton
like
up the
about
game.
one of the things I really like about David Howard Thornton in this character is how he emotes things, because the great serial killers have a gait, kind of a style of movement that is kind of uniquely them. I think it's kind of similar between like Michael and Jason. They're just the big lumbering guys that lumber through the area looking for people to kill. Freddy's got this kind of almost Joker-like quality in his movement. He never really stands straight up. He's always kind of crouched with that, you know, with the claws out and everything. Leatherface is just imposing and wild. But the way that he had, because he has that mime background. And the way that he's been able to kind of incorporate that into this Marcel Marceau kind of version of a horror of a serial killer is amazing. So it's because it really is kind of awesome the way that he tells his own story just through movement. It's a great quality that has made this character a lot of fun to watch. Because just a clown going around killing people, I'm like, we saw that in It. So you got to give me something different and unique. And by not saying anything, he's able to tell you what he's thinking, like Jeremy said, where he's just like, "Wait a minute."
The physical comedy,
like I said, you mentioned earlier the way he kind of fangirled out when he saw Santa. I was just like, that is pure fucking brilliance. I love just his reaction.
Oh yeah, great.
He's so excited to go see Santa. I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome.
But Tex, what do you?
I say Valentine's Day. That's what I'm saying. Valentine's Day.
Tex, what do you think? What do you think we're going to get from the fourth movie, both kind of story wise and setting wise? Now that Jeremy brings it up and raises that good point.
Well, I don't think it was any coincidence that the ending of this movie we saw Vicky's head get cut off, her blood turns acidic like she's a xenomorph alien, melts the floor, a gate to the underworld opens. The niece falls into it with Sienna's sword.
Yeah.
And then once all of that is resolved, we see the bus scene where a woman is reading a book called The Ninth Circle by Rosemary, whatever the author's name was, and shows that actress's face, he's telling you where the next movie's going. I think Terrifier 4 is going to be kind of a la a Hellraiser 2 or an Army of Darkness, where we're going through the portal to the underworld to find and rescue somebody. I think we saw Art lose his Art's human again. We saw his eyes change. He's back on the bus. He's doing, like he was in the first films. So I think Terrifier 4 is going to be, I'll say this, I think Terrifier 4 and 5 are going to be two parts of the same movie. Because Damian Leon has already said this is a big story. You may have to break it up. I think it's going to be an epic of the first part chasing down Art to use his blood to open the port to the underworld to get the niece or the cousin back, whatever she was. I think that's what we're going to see. Now, that being said, I do like this idea of a holiday-themed killer. Obviously, Halloween is a thing for a reason. I need an Art the Clown Terrifier movie for every holiday. That's Easter, Valentine's Day, Arbor Day. I don't care. All of them. I need a Terrifier film for every holiday of the year so I can celebrate with my boy Art the Clown.
You can celebrate every damn holiday of the year.
That. Yes. Could you imagine a box set of every holiday within a Terrifier franchise sitting on your shelf? That would be amazing. I would buy that. Yes, please. Take my money here. Whatever.
Tex just said it. I was just scribbling down on my notes in front of me. There aren't too many horror movies set in Easter. I can't. There probably are. But I said it off my head.
I said it a few weeks ago. Terrifier 5. On Easter, he has risen is the tagline for the movie with Art the Clown coming back to life.
Some really heavy religious implications in this movie. So
yes,
yeah.
Well, Damian Leon, he proved in this one he doesn't mind playing with religion. Could you imagine Art the Clown walking in a Jesus outfit with long hair and a beard and a robe on? That'd be great. I'm down.
There's a piece of trivia that I have here that just suddenly struck me differently. We'll go into it in a minute. But I'm interested. I kind of think along the lines of Tex. I think we're going to find ourselves in hell or in the upside down or whatever their version is going to be, the underworld.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wherever Art might come from, whether it be hell or some other terrible place. But I'm iffy as to whether I want to see it like that, because once you get down into the upside down, we'll call it for right now, for lack of a better term, I don't know, the tone changes a little bit. It changes a bit for me. I kind of like the fact that all this is happening in the real world. It makes it, I think, more scarier. But
you need a final showdown in hell or something.
I'll watch the movie and see if it works. If it works, great. If not, then that might be one of the things that throws it off for me. But another question I have is, he didn't really have a sidekick in the first film. I don't think he did anyway. He had a little girl in the second film. He had Amanda Scaffidi's character in this film. Who's going to be his sidekick in the next film? Is it, her brother?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Going to hell and getting a different version of Jonathan. That'd be great. Yeah.
Takes over Jonathan. Yeah.
But,
yeah.
It's, there's a lot of things it could be. One of the things that gets me, though, and I'll connect it a little bit more to the ending of this movie. One of the things that I didn't like about this movie was the ending. It wasn't bad, but here's the problem with leaving that open-ended ending. Tex made a fair enough comparison earlier when he talked about this is the Empire Strikes Back of this franchise. I get it. Kind of similar plot points along the way, similar kind of ending. Here's my problem with the ending, though. When you leave that massive open ending like that, generally speaking, especially for a movie with really low budget like this one, leaving an open ending like that and not having another film already kind of on the cusp, at least getting ready to film, it doesn't feel right to me. Because if you think about other movies that have done it, you had Back to the Future 2 and 3, that had an open ending, but they were filming both those movies, I think, at the same time.
2 and 3 together, yeah.
I think they filmed 2 and 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think the third one came out. I think it was. I don't even know if it was a year. I think maybe it was like 8 or 10 months after the second one.
Yeah.
If you look at like Avengers
Wasn't
Endgame,
long.
if you look at Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, they pretty much spent a year and a half filming both those movies back to back. And I think it was only maybe a year between those movies coming out.
They also did that for Lord of the Rings. I think they filmed all of them and then released them like 1 year.
They filmed all three of those at once. That's why.
I think it spent something like 3 or 4 years filming that entire 3 movies.
Yeah.
But this movie, it's like it leaves with an open ending. And as far as I know, right now, we are nowhere near even pre-production. They haven't even greenlit a fourth one yet that I know of. We all know.
No, it's been Terrifier 4 has been greenlit.
I think he said
it's been 4 has been greenlit already.
Everything that I've read says there's not even a treatment written for this thing. So best case scenario, I mean, because this movie is relatively low budget, doesn't need the CGI stuff like a Marvel movie would need. Best case scenario, we're looking at like 2026. I mean, my problem is I don't think that Damian Leon's going to want to throw a fourth one together. So I don't think we're going to see one in 2025. So I mean, I
wouldn't want
to have one in 2025. He would have to start filming probably sometime in the next 2 or 3 months to have it this time next year, and that would just rush the process way too fast. So that pushes it back into 2026. I don't know if it's even going to release in 2026, 2027. That's a long time to sit on this ending. And yeah, you could say it kind of happened between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but you're not talking about Star Wars here. You're talking about a much smaller franchise. That it's not quite as it's loved inside the genre a whole lot, but it's not loved by the film masses the way Star Wars was at the time. So I that's one of the reasons why the ending doesn't sit well with me. I'm gonna have to sit on that ending and wonder at the end of the movie that when the movie ends, that whole thing is still like open, the whole portal to hell or whatever is going on. It's all still open.
It closed. It
closed. I don't remember seeing it close.
Yeah, it closed. That's why Sienna couldn't save the girl, because once she fell through with the sword, it swallowed shut, and then she looked, and Art was gone.
Yeah, I can't. I don't want to sell that ending for that long. Like I said, it's going to be at least I'm thinking probably 2 years before this time in 2026. So like 2 years before we get to see whatever's next, if it is a finale. And I think I read somewhere. Let me look it up again real quick to make sure I'm not lying to you guys.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'll say this:
the next movie's going to be the last.
Damian Leon has said he doesn't know how many films he's going to make, but he knows how this story of Terrifier will end, and it's apparently epic from the words that he.
If you got
obviously, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So the man has an end goal.
Yeah.
That gives me hope that with this cliffhanger ending, because realistically, that's what this is. I don't mind the cliffhanger ending if I know you're going to give me more, and obviously this thing is stupid profitable. They're making more of these things. I don't mind the cliffhanger ending if you know where you're headed and you've got a good track record so far. So he has my support in some leeway. So
all the amount of lore and stuff that's going on in this movie, I'm like, you could do wild shit, and it doesn't really, you can go somewhere with this.
Oh yeah.
All it says, again, Wikipedia, take it as you will. In 2023, Damian Leon spoke on his plans for a potential Terrifier 4. In September of this year, just last month, Leon confirmed that Terrifier 4 was in development. And we all know that in development can mean almost anything in Hollywood. So, take it
in development means I got on my computer and wrote Terrifier 4. That's technically in development.
In development could mean that I'm talking to financial backers, which I think is going to end up probably crowdsourcing this one as well.
Hey, I don't think Bloody Disgusting and Cineverse is going to have any problem throwing a couple million if they can make 20. I think they're good.
Jesus, fucking Christ, I thought. Sorry.
Oh, we'll talk about the money this movie made here in a minute.
Right.
I'm trying to find the quote. There was a quote that I thought I read somewhere about Terrifier. Somebody had confirmed that Terrifier 4 was going to be the last one. But
I've heard so many different.
I don't want to just repeat something I may have stumbled across on Twitter.
I've seen different interviews where he says 4 is the last one, maybe 4 and 5. And then earlier today, I saw another interview from him, from his own lips, where he said, I don't know how many Terrifier films there will be, but I know what the ending is going to be. One thing to keep in mind here, how many times was it the last Friday the 13th or the last Halloween movie? You
It was literally called
one.
The Final Destination, and you didn't do that.
Wasn't it Friday the 13th part 4, the final chapter? And then 5 came along 2 years later, or a year later or something? So just because, and something to keep in mind, he said this Terrifier saga. Does that necessarily mean Art versus Sienna, but Art moves on to something else? Much like with the ending of this movie. You know, when he clarifies this Terrifier, that tells me he has other stories with Art in mind going elsewhere, which, you know, look at the example of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. How many freaking times have we seen that story, and how long have we wanted Michael to get away from Laurie and go after somebody else in Haddonfield? Go over to another town. Go somewhere else. Do something else. Art the Clown can do that. He's not tied to Haddonfield. Yeah, he's the Miles County Clown, but there's other towns in Miles County. I'm sure he can go elsewhere. He can haunt other people.
I feel like he's tied to, they've done a lot to obviously and very strongly tie him to Sienna.
Yeah.
No, sure, yeah.
Yeah, you have these two people that are.
But this is not the only franchise that's had multiple final girls of note. I mean, Friday the 13th had 4 or 5 of them. I'm not saying Lauren Lavera is unreplaceable, but this character has room to grow outside of just Sienna and Jonathan. This can go other places.
I agree that he could, but the problem is the way they're arranging the story, they are tying him very strongly to Sienna specifically.
Yeah.
Right, no, I get it.
Because it occurred to me as I was watching this movie that whenever this thing ends, and I got an article here that's got some quotes from Damian Leon. I'll get to that in a second. But it occurs to me that as I was watching this movie the other day, I had speculated that when we got to Halloween Ends that we would see both Michael and Laurie die, because that seemed like a fitting end. It's always been these two locked in this forever battle. It seemed like that one couldn't exist without the other. That's why I speculated they would both die in the last film. I wonder if maybe that's kind of where it's working at here. They're obviously whatever spiritual voodoo that they're going to write into it that explains their connection. If she's the on earth warrior for God and he is the on earth, you know, warrior for the devil. If that's it, great. But I feel like that one can't exist without the other, so that if one dies, the other one's got to go too. And I feel like that's kind of where it's going. So, I mean, could he possibly? This is coming from digitaltrends.com. I don't know how good this website is. I just stumbled across this. It says,
never heard of it.
Will Terrifier 4 be the last in the franchise? Damian Leon clarifies comments about the final film. Leon knows the Terrifier franchise will end. It just may take a little more time than previously planned. In the lead up to this film, Leon teased the end of the franchise, saying he does not want to wear out his welcome and end with either a trilogy or a quadrilogy. During Fantastic Fest in Austin, Leon confirmed that Terrifier 4 is in the works, with many speculating it would be the last. Since then, Leon has clarified his comments, saying the announcement was a bit premature. Furthermore, Leon said he might need a 5th Terrifier film to wrap up the franchise. That worries me a bit, because you're kind of stretching it out a bit much, but we'll have to see the films in order to know for sure. He said, now it's a question of, can I fit everything I want to fit before I get to that finale? Can I fit in one more movie, or is it maybe just going to take 2 movies before I get there? So yeah, we'll see. It's a little too premature. So, I mean, even he doesn't really know how long this is going to go. How many more films remains up in the air? Leon does say he knows how it's going to end. He said, I know the ending, which is most important. I know certain scenes throughout, and I just started developing the intro to it. So that's pretty much all these movies start that way. They're like puzzle pieces. I need to fill in the gaps. This one's set, blah, blah, blah. Start talking about this one. Terrifier 3 opens, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, there's no for sure answer that the next one will be the last one. There's no for sure answer there won't be 20 more films, and we might get into Mike Myers territory where it's going to be like Terrifier ends, Terrifier.
Hey, I have no problem with Damien Leone making 4 and 5, and then doing the John Carpenter thing, handing the reins over to somebody else to make a different timeline. I'm good. If I can accept 4 different Michael Myers timelines and 15 different Texas Chainsaw timelines, Terrifier can have 2 or 3. I'm good. That's not going to hurt my feelings.
But I don't want there to be 27 Terrifier movies, whether they're in different timelines or not, because I think that's one of the things. Because that's one of the things that has hurt a lot of good franchises. Friday the 13th, 27 different movies, whatever timelines. You got to the point where it was diminishing returns. I always talk about baseball players and athletes in general retiring when they should, instead of retiring when they have to. As a sports fan, I get really sad when I see some of the players that I've watched for so many years holding on to the sport, signing shitty deals with some team that just wants to be able to say this future Hall of Famer played for my team for 6 months. I don't want that for these characters. Jason, the 27 Friday the 13th movies, only 4 of them have really been good. Mike Myers, how many freaking Halloween movies? 4 of them have been good. A lot of Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Most of them have been good, but some of them have just been absolute shitbags. It seems like every horror for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're right now like the 3rd remake. Not as many movies as some of the other franchises, but I mean even that suffered a little bit because they just you can only squeeze so much blood from the rock. You know what I mean? And 3 to 4 movies is good, and then let it sit for 10 years, and then maybe try it again with a bunch of different actors. Maybe freshen it up with a different director, somebody other than Sergio Leone. Then Damian Leon comes in and maybe tries his hand at it to do different artistic things with it. I don't want Terrifier 75 where we've got fucking David Howard Thornton out there in a walker trying to act like he's beating some 17-year-old girl to death because he happened to run into her at a diner. It's like that gets tired, and I don't want that to happen to a character with a shit ton of potential like Art the Clown. Take it to a natural ending point and end it. That's where it should be.
I'll say this. I want them, if they make 15 Terrifier movies, guess what? I'm going to be there for all 15. But I don't think that's going to happen. What I think, 2 things here is going to happen. One, this Terrifier franchise is going to, I love that this is an independent franchise that this is not a studio production. This is a little nothing. This isn't backed by Universal or Warner Brothers. This is their own deal. I can't wait to see what this inspires to come out next. Not Terrifier related, but the next Hollywood slasher. Texas Chainsaw gave birth to Halloween. Halloween gave us Friday the 13th. What's going to come after Terrifier? I have hope for that. But 2, one thing I will say about this is I want there to be as many Terrifier films as they're creative like these are. Now, obviously, a point for your side here, the Saw problem. I love the Saw franchise. This is no secret. Eventually, you run out of fun ways to kill people. At a certain point, you're like, okay, this is kind of repetitive. That's when Terrifier needs to stop. When the plot isn't really moving anywhere because, there's not a lot of plot in this movie unless you're, like I said earlier, the hardcore fan and you know where it is. They don't spell it out and make it easy. But the kills are what bring you to the theater. And if they made 5 or 6 Final Destination movies, I see no reason why they couldn't do the same with this and then give it 10 years off and bring it back. Because guess what? Final Destination is, I think, coming back next year. I'm pretty sure. But, as long as it's creative, I want to see more Terrifier. Put him in space. I'd love to see Arthur Clown in space. Do a Terrifier X. Are you kidding me? That'd be tremendous.
He's
Terrifier.
At that point,
Arthur Clown takes Manhattan. Yeah. But, okay, yes, it's comedy. But that's the part of it. This is horror comedy at its finest. This is Evil Dead 2 level comedies. I mean, look at that Santa Claus scene. You can't tell me that the comedy is not spelling out. Whenever Art the Clown is a murderous psychopath acting like a 5-year-old kid who just saw Santa Claus, and you can't help but love the guy. It's like this is horror comedy perfected. This is its purest form right here. This is why it works, and it will continue to work going forward. And the dedicated fan base that has all that Terrifier crap that I do on my walls and shelves, guess what? We're going to be there for all of it, just like Jason got his 12 movies, Michael got his 15 movies. Terrifier will be the same way. This is this generation's Halloween. I said it when we reviewed Terrifier 1. It'll be the same way.
The problem that worries me is that the shtick is going to wear off. Like right now, we like Art the Clown
of course.
Because of the vision that Damian Leon is giving us. I almost said Sergio Leone again, Jesus Christ. But because of the vision that Damian Leon is giving us, it's fresh right now. Is it going to be fresh in 15 years when we're on Terrifier 7? Or 8 or 9 or X or whatever?
Well, obviously, when you get to Terrifier 6 and 7, you're going to have to spruce it up. You're going to have to change it up. That's why I said Lauren Lavera, as great as she is, one of my favorite final girls, Art the Clown can go after somebody else. You can give us a different kind of story. And with this biggest, which is why I like the whole, Art's just a serial killer who's possessed by a demon. You can go anywhere with that story. And you get some creatives in there, change things up. Maybe Damian Leon doesn't want to direct all of them. I get it. I wouldn't want to either. You can go anywhere with this franchise. You could do. Art the Clown is the Deadpool of the serial killer slashers. You can have fun with that. We've seen what Deadpool can do. You can do a lot with it.
I still think he's way too tied to Sienna. I mean, however the story is going to end between him and Sienna, it will end eventually, whether it's in 4 or 5, whatever it ends. I mean, yeah, you could send him somewhere else. You could send him to, Austin. You don't like Austin, so let's have him go kill a bunch of people in Austin. It's like
please have him kill a bunch of hippies in Austin. Thank you. Empty out that town. I'm good.
You could send him down there, but you spent so much time beefing up this fact that Sienna is the yin to his yang, the antipode to who he is. That it's like now you got to explain. Now you've got to explain why he exists away from her. It's like you may as well just reboot the whole damn thing. Which is what I think
it could be done.
If you think about it, that's kind of what Halloween did. When they came out with Halloween a couple of years ago, the first of this last trilogy, they basically said
2018.
Everything after Halloween 77 doesn't exist. That should never happen. H2O, which I thought was a pretty decent movie, none of that should happen. It's just these 4 films exist in our canon, in this real canon that we're trying to give you. I mean, that's how they managed. That's how they managed to make it work in Halloween. Is just by saying those movies don't exist, ignore them, and they retconned them. Right. I mean, do you really want in 4 or 5 years from now to already retcon a bunch of stuff that you've already established in the universe?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they do it.
You said Ninth Circle already wasn't canon. I'm like, well, that wasn't that long ago. So you already said that wasn't.
The Ninth Circle, which was the short that created all of this, and then All Hallows Eve, which features the Ninth Circle as its first segment. That's not canon. That's just proof of concept for this character. So I'm not saying in 5 years we create another Art the Clown timeline. We can give this thing some legs. That's what I'm saying. Terrifier is this generation's Halloween. We are going to look back on the first Terrifier film like Halloween 78 is looked at in 20 years. Hold me to it. I'll bet you $1. I guarantee you it will. That
won't be able to come to fruition for 40 years, though, because we've had 40 years of Mike Myers and Halloween. We've had 4 years of Art the Clown Terrifier, comparatively speaking.
No, was it 2000? No, he's been doing this for over a decade.
Comparatively speaking, we have not had that. We have not had the long run of Art the Clown.
I want to say
Jason.
I want to say
it. To an extent.
Was it 2010? Maybe that the Ninth Circle came out, because I found Art the Clown during All Hallows Eve, and then I went back and saw the short. But I can't remember what year it was exactly. But this has been over a decade old. This is not just like 4 or 5 years old.
He's only been mainstream for 4 or 5 years. That's kind of where you need to look at it. If you want to start making comparisons to Halloween and to Mike Myers, that's where you got to look at it when it became mainstream, because Halloween became mainstream the moment that movie released in 77.
Right. But
if you want to talk about when art was mainstream, it was when Terrifier came out.
My point is, though, yeah, you don't reboot and create another timeline tomorrow. That's not going to work. That needs to be done under a different director with a different vision. That can tie back to the original Terrifier. Fine, whatever. Because hell, Sienna doesn't even come in until Terrifier 2. So they can text. I mean, Jeremy will know about this. How many different timelines, different completely tie back to Texas Chainsaw 74 and go 15 different directions off of one film? It's not hard to do. Now, I'm not saying they'll all be good, but there's no reason why this franchise can't do it as well.
But that's the problem, is that you're going to end up putting out stinkers, and that's going to ruin the franchise.
Oh, of course. Well, you're going to get your good ones and your bad ones. How many bad Marvel movies do we get? How many spinoffs of a spinoff is Marvel doing? DC done the same thing. When you make movies, you're going to get stinkers. They're not all going to be great. But you know what? I'm here for it. I'll talk about the good ones and crap on the bad ones. Like this Halloween Ends y'all keep talking about. I've never heard of this. This must be just something terrible because I've never seen this. So I don't know.
I said, you run the Dallas chapter of the Jamie Lee Curtis Fan Club. Stop lying.
You keep slandering me like that, sir, and you're going to have a lawsuit on your head. I'm just telling you right now. That is a horrible thing to say about somebody.
I wonder if Jamie Lee Curtis is on that website Cameo. I might have her do something for Texas birthday.
Oh, my God. Oh, that'd be amazing.
You would still dig it. Admit it. You'd be like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Sometimes I hate you.
Talk to you for like a month,
sometimes I hate you just a little bit, but I still love you.
I don't even need to do that with the technology with AI and stuff now. I could probably just fake an AI video and have her talking about how much she loves Tex.
At least get the Jamie Lee Curtis from. Isn't it True Lies where she dances naked and she was actually semi-attractive back in the day? One of those movies, I forget which one it was. At least make it that version of Jamie Lee Curtis, not the old grandma version. Make it the halfway decent one.
But let me hit you guys with this real quick before I get to the trivia. I don't have a whole lot of trivia because the movie is still very new. I do have some good ones. Let me hit you guys with this. Are you okay with when they released the movie, or do you think that this would have hit so much harder if they would have released this on Christmas Day?
I'm not gonna lie.
That would have been sweet.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I fucking thought this came out in December because that made so much more sense. You guys were like, "Oh yeah, it comes out. We're doing that Tuesday." I'm like, "Did it fucking come out already?" I was like, "Why? Why now? Put it around Christmas." I think it would have because that's what made sense to me. It's because I'm stupid and wasn't like paying attention, and for some reason, I'm connecting Christmas and Art the Clown. I was like, oh, okay, if we make it like a more Christmas, timeline for release, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That'd be kind of fun. It's not like we haven't had horror movies release in January, February even. So I'm like, yeah, well, it's cold out, still kind of in a weird holiday spirit. I'm like. But you got a horror movie coming out, so sure. I think it would have. I don't know.
Tex, what do you think? Are you okay with it coming out right now? It is October, Halloween month, everything's scary, yada yada. Or do you think this movie would have been better released on Christmas Day or around closer to Christmas?
If Nosferatu wasn't coming at Christmas, I think this would have. But I think this didn't want any competition whatsoever, and it's why they released it now. And by releasing it now, guess what? It'll be on VOD or streaming platform on Christmas Day. So after you've opened all your presents and had your milk and cookies, guess what? You can still watch on Christmas Day. So this is kind of the best of both worlds for them. So.
Just be careful which presents your kids open because one of them might.
Yeah, check for fuses on your kids' Christmas. Kind of like on Halloween. How you have to check for razor blades and candy, right? Now you have to check for fuses on your kids' Christmas presents. So,
yeah, you can't. Now you got to check for bombs.
If you shake your present, it's ticking. Run.
Maybe don't shake it. That might be call out the bomb sniffing dogs. Maybe.
See, now I gotta get a damn Geiger counter for Christmas. Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I
clicking real loud. I gotta leave.
Like you don't have one for your Fallout cosplay already. It's probably on that shelf somewhere. But,
Yeah,
surprisingly, I don't, but I do want one. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I do want
I
one.
wasn't thinking of this until Tech said, yes, Nosferatu is releasing on Christmas this year. So maybe they didn't want to go ahead and have Nosferatu. I get it. But you got to admit, and to quote the great Deadpool, this movie would have fucked so much harder if you dropped it on Christmas Day.
I think it would.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. No.
I mean, because if you think about it, Damian Leon, I don't know what his religious beliefs are, but he's obviously taking some Christian iconography and having fun with it in this movie. Thorns on the head, damage to the hand, all that stuff. It's like if he's willing to go that route, why not drop this thing smack dab on Christmas morning or even Christmas Eve?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I want an Easter film where Art the Clown rises from a cave with holes in his hands where it would somehow he has long hair and he's wearing a white robe. That would be hilarious to see. I'm down for that.
You just see the movie open up and it's like the end of Terrifier 3 and then it just says 3 days later and this motherfucker comes out of a cave. Like,
yeah, 3 days later. Yeah.
Yeah. It just picks up right after the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of a 5-year gap, it's a 3-day gap. It's all good.
Right.
That's all it takes.
Let's get into some trivia now. Again, not a whole lot because the movie is still very new. But I do have a couple of bangers here, I think. The first one, Damian Leon wanted to feature Victoria more prominently in this film as he regretted leaving the character underdeveloped in the first film, which is exactly what I said. And this is him agreeing with me that the first film was way too light on story. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm
100%.
Yeah. Again,
I was sad that the pale girl didn't make an appearance, but Vicky made up for it, especially once she's dressed like Art the Clown. Like, I was like, okay, I'm good.
Her looking like Art was fucking cool. I will say.
Oh, yeah. Well, and actually, did you notice her costume was reverse colored from what Art's is, too? So it was kind of funny visually looking at them, where one had white and black, they were flipped. So I thought that was cool, too.
Nice. All right.
Let's see.
Like I said, I've seen this 5 times in theaters, guys. I've studied this thing. Yeah, I've done my homework.
When I go back to see it again, I want to look at it and be like, son of a bitch, she was right.
Let's see. Tex already mentioned in France the upheaval this movie caused. In France, the film actually opened number 1 at the box office on its first day with 45,000 tickets sold. That's more than other horror movies like Saw X, which sold 35,000, and Smile, which sold 33,000.
Yeah.
Oh, this was huge. I was there. I went to the Thursday night premiere. It was, now I'm Central Time Zone, so they showed Terrifier 2 at 5:45. And so it was like around 8 o'clock when they showed Terrifier 3. Theater was full. And then I went back the next, corresponding days throughout the weekend. Every time it was almost full. It was nuts to see. I loved it.
Nice.
Let's see. Back to France for this one. France's classification committee, and you guys talked about this a little bit earlier, actually banned viewers under the age of 18 from seeing the film. The first time such a ban has been issued since the release of Saw 3 in 2006. There were also reports there of audience members vomiting and leaving the theaters after watching the film's opening scene in the UK. Another report consisted of 2 people passing out during a screening of the film in Australia.
And see, I'm just like, wow, really messed up. Anyway,
my biggest disappointment with this movie, I kept seeing these vomit bags with Terrifier 3 merch, like designed on the front of them. People had them online. I didn't get one. I want one of these things. If you can find me one of the Terrifier 3 puke bags, I will put it on my wall in this background over here. Because I need one of those in my life. So,
that is pretty funny.
I need one of those. So. Oh, yeah. I was like, please hand me one when I go into the theater. I never got a puke bag.
He's like, that bitch is still clean, empty.
Oh, if I get one, it's getting framed right here. Like that's where you will see it. Right here is where it will be.
Everybody else, everybody else will walk out of the theater holding their stomach, trying to gather their senses. Tex walks out swinging his empty bag, like, "You guys are all bitches."
That's a pretty weak, dude. I was eating sliders as I watched that dude get a chainsaw up his backside. All right, I'm good. You're not gonna get me.
I was munching on M&Ms and eating my fucking drinking my icy. I was like, oh, "This is fun." Like,
come on, man, you have to work real hard to get me like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Director Damien Leon said that several big studios actually showed interest in financing this movie based on the unexpected success of Terrifier 2, even without a full script. But he turned them all down because he asserted that they would never let him film the opening scene alone, which he describes as, quote, very controversial, to say the least. Leon commented the only reason he could be so uncompromising in his depiction of horror and gore is because he finances the movie independently, creates all the special effects himself, he keeps costs down, and has no big studio breathing down his neck to make the movie more mainstream. Damn right.
And you can fucking do it. It was like, what, $2 million to make this movie, and it's already made
$2 million. So,
yeah. You can do it.
Well, that's what I was talking to AJ Rader earlier. And I said, my favorite thing about this whole franchise is not owned by a big corporate studio that has to put DEI and woke into everything. Damian Leone is an uncompromised artist. I hope Terrifier never sells to a big studio. I hope Damien Leon keeps the rights to it, even if he's not making movies of it. One of the best things about this franchise is its independent movies. And I love independent, small budget horror. And like I said, I hope Terrifier spurs all kinds of creatives within the horror world to give us new slashers. So we don't have to have 15 Friday the 13th. We can have something else like we got In a Violent Nature this year. We're getting these new independent stuff. Y'all just got to go support it. I can't be the only one that's seeing these things, or it's never going to get made.
I've said 100 times. I've said 100 times. The horror genre seems to thrive on a small budget. The best horror movies ever made have been made for Buster.
Yes.
I mean, like Blair Witch Project comes out, whatever. I know some people don't like the movie, but that movie comes out and makes gangbusters. They put $1 bajillion behind the Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows. That fucking movie tanks. It was too corporate. It has to be a lot more about the storytelling than it does about the effects, the big name, the being able to put, fucking whatever big name production company or distribution company in front of it before you play it. It's so much more than that when it comes to the horror genre. Horror lends itself, it thrives in lower budgets. And I think movies like this are the absolute proof.
Yeah. Well, if you want Terrifier to die, let it be bought by Warner Brothers or Universal or Disney or whoever and make a corporate version of it. That'll be the last one that you ever see. So stay independent, Damien. You're good.
And the most recent Blair Witch Project movie that came out, they got back to the roots on that one. She had a bigger budget, but they got back to kind of like the filmmaking roots of that one. It was a much better film, not nearly as good as the original because the shtick of the found footage thing has kind of worn off over the years. But I mean, it was still a much better put together film, much more enjoyable than the Book of Shadows crap. So whatever. But let's see. You guys know who Frank Stallone is, right?
Oh yeah.
One of the few Franks as cool as this one right here. This is the piece of trivia that occurred to me as we were talking about earlier. Frank Stallone was actually in talks to play Jesus in this movie, but turned it down.
Oh God, that would have been fucking awesome,
dude.
That would have been sweet.
Let me pull up. I gotta find a picture of Frank Stallone just so I can. I want you guys to picture Frank Stallone as Jesus. I should have pulled.
I'm about to look it up. I'm like, I bet you I could. Yeah.
For one, Frank Stallone's a boss. I mean, not as famous as his brother, but he's put together quite a career for himself. He did have a really big hit song like in the late 80s. But I'll get you guys a picture of Frank Stallone. He's made a good career for himself. He's done some acting. He's done some other stuff, things like that. Let me see if I can find a picture of.
They need to save Jesus for Terrifier 5. He has risen. Where he comes out as Jesus with his hair and his robe on. That's what they need to do.
That's why it occurred to me. That's why it occurred to me. Like that piece of trivia hit me the way it did, because you had made the mention about going into hell and stuff like that, and how he is either the devil or the devil's warrior, the devil's avatar on Earth or whatever. The idea that he even wanted to have Jesus as a character in this movie, I thought was very interesting.
Well, and that, like I said, this is not Terrifier. Is yes, the beginnings were just simple, schlocky slasher films, but it's evolving into, like I said, an Evil Dead world of opening up to another level where we're dealing with sentient beings of heaven and hell and good and evil. I mean, Sienna, realistically, she's just a girl. She's whatever. But she was brought, hell, what does Vicky say? you're not the savior. You're not the chosen one. Whatever. And they had to corrupt her. They had to take her over to stop them from being put down. I mean, this opens up the stakes so much that I cannot wait to see what Damien does with it, because this opens up the creative process. Yeah, you might can only get 2 more slasher films out of Arthur Clown, but if you're dealing with the devil and Jesus and heaven and hell and these emissaries from both sides, you can play with that. You can stretch that out.
Yeah, for those of you who just look at the picture, that's obviously Sylvester Stallone on the right, and that's his brother on the left, and his brother Frank Stallone is on the right.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of plastic surgery too.
Well, it's Hollywood. That's what they do. Those people give each other new heads for Christmas, for Christ's sake. That's an old Dennis Leary joke, old Dennis Leary bit.
Right.
But the opening scene that was oh so wonderful. Damian Leone, in several interviews, stated that the Christmas theme was directly influenced by the 1972 film and the 1989 TV series adaptations of Tales from the Crypt. Both featured a story called "And All Through the House" about a mental patient dressed as Santa on a killing spree. This is Leone's favorite version of a killer Santa, and the cold open of Terrifier 3 pays homage to that.
Nice.
Well, and not just that, but
he's Santa, so it also explains that.
The rocking chair in the attic is straight out of Black Christmas, the original. I mean, that's where Billy was and everything else. So he's paying homage to the classics. I don't think Black Christmas is really that good of a film. I don't even watch it yearly, to be honest with you, but it's a classic.
Let's see. This is actually the first film, and this goes to something Tex was saying earlier about Damien Leone kind of be doing everything on here. This is the first film in the series not to feature special effects makeup done by Damien Leone himself. He actually had somebody else run the makeup this time.
Yeah, well, still works.
Yeah,
you can't put on the show and pop the popcorn, as they say.
He's on the set, so obviously he's going to be there influencing things, even though he doesn't actually get hands on himself. But Tex was saying that he was kind of doing everything on these sets. He actually didn't. He went from a crew of, I think I read something where he had said that most of the time, filming the first 2 movies, he would have like 3 to 5 people on set. They were saying that for this movie, there was constantly 30 or 40 people on set. This was a much bigger production. I mean, budget-wise, only $2 million, but he actually had different production crews doing different things now, instead of having his hand on everything that he was doing to make this movie this time. Now, it worked. It worked out fine, because this movie's still pretty good. It's as good as the second one. But it does show that this franchise is kind of growing past the limits that it kind of had the first couple of movies.
And see, this is where that's a good sign for the Terrifier franchise, because we need Damen Leon focusing on the creative side, the writing side. The effects can be done by different people and still be awesome, because the effects in this movie were amazing. So you can't tell me he's not going to have some influence of overseeing or something on those. I want him creating the stories, coming up with the creative kills, or his team, or whoever it is. He's the John Carpenter of this. He's the top dude. That's where he needs to be.
Yeah, one more piece of trivia that I found mind-boggling. They talked about how this movie came out and it knocked Joker 2 out of the top spot. Joker 2 had some crazy 80-something% drop from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, $200 million budget too.
This movie, I just looked a little bit ago. This movie, as of today, has made $23 million against a $2 million budget. You want to know something? You want to know something really hilarious? Worldwide, in its opening week, this movie has made more than Megalopolis, which was made by Scorsese.
I saw that too.
For like $150 million budget, and it's been out for 4 weeks.
Damn.
I saw Megalopolis because I had one more pass on my AMC A-lister thing, and I just wanted to see a movie. I could not tell you what that movie was about. It was like the Roman Empire took over America, and it was modern. It was Shia LaBeouf was dressed as a girl for half the movie. Like I don't like the main guy could stop time. I have no idea. I got lost, but yeah, Terrifier 3 beats his pants off. So.
I was really intrigued by that movie. I mean, it's Scorsese. I mean, the guy is one of the best that's ever done it. And Megalopolis, the original silent film, is actually a film that a lot of sci-fi people look at. They kind of like the way a lot of horror people look back at Nosferatu, the original. That there was a art quality there that has been hard to reproduce over the years. So the fact that he was going to make this a talkie and was going to make a movie out of it, I was like, I'm interested to see how this translates. And then it's like, it seems like the moment the first showing was over, people were like, no, not good. Not good at all. And it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Look, Scorsese's 127 years old. Maybe he's lost his touch a little bit. I'm not saying that he hasn't made great movies in the past. Or they could make a good one in the future. But this one did not work on a lot of levels from what I'm hearing. I'll see it eventually. I'm just not going to see it.
The best and shortest way I can describe Megalopolis, it's like Francis Ford Coppola took peyote like 3 different times, like separate times, right? And he was in like a kind of idealizing what society should be and what the real world is. And he was like, what is my ideal world? And then he just threw all that together, put his money behind it to make it, and the movie makes no sense whatsoever. Like it's a mess. Like I saw it because, like I said, I had an empty pass and I just wanted to go see a movie. But it was, don't see Megalopolis. It sucks. It's whatever.
Like I said, it's going to hit a streamer eventually. And if I'm sitting around on a Saturday night and I got nothing better going on, I'll hit play on this, see what happens. Order a pizza, drink a beer. But
I guarantee you, halfway through, you won't remember what happened in the beginning because you lose interest. Like it's bad. But
I almost sat the other night and watched it because on Peacock has the extended version of the Fall Guy, the movie that came out. I almost hit play on that, and I'm like, I still can't. I can't do it. I was like, I have a Saturday night all to myself. The house is empty. You know, the Jennifer and the kid were out doing some kind of stuff, and I have peace and quiet. I can order a pizza and watch whatever the hell I want for till 11 o'clock. And then, I was like, God, I just can't. I can't do it. I'd rather watch an old episode of West Wing. I had watched a couple episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I was just like, I'm not ready to bring myself to play on that piece of shit. I mean, I've heard people say it's entertaining, but I'm like, yeah, these are a lot of people that didn't grow up watching the TV show like I did. So they like it because they don't have the emotional connection to the old stuff with Lee Majors from the 80s. Me, I'm like, if you're not going to hit a certain tone with this, if you're not going to hit the right notes, it's just not going to work for me. But whatever. I mean, I still watch the occasional episode of The Fall Guy it's on Amazon. I think like the first 2 seasons on Amazon. I bounce around from one episode to the next one because it's a great show. That opening song, fantastic. Do you remember the opening song that he did for the Fall Guy TV show?
I think so.
Unknown Stuntman. Oh God, great song. I was actually thinking about it. When we did the Smokey and the Bandit review, I was actually thinking about mentioning it. I just forgot. It's like, obviously, the song from that was fantastic. Where'd Jeremy go? Obviously, the song from that was fantastic. I know. But I got to thinking about the opening sequence of The Fall Guy, the TV show, and Lee Majors did that country song, which itself became a chart topper. I think it ended up like top 10 or something like that on the charts.
I think I remember, but I can't place it. I don't know.
Go find it on YouTube just to watch it. Fantastic opening.
I still haven't seen Fall Guy. I haven't watched it. I was watching Terrifier 3 instead.
Yeah, find it on YouTube. It's fantastic. But we're going to start to wrap things up here because I've got an early morning. Absolutely got to eat some kind of dinner. But I don't know where Jeremy ran off to. Hopefully he will be back here in a minute so we can give us his final thoughts. I'll go to Tex then since he's here right now. Give me your final thoughts on Terrifier 3.
Special shout out to Damian Leon for having the balls to just do whatever he wanted with this movie. He put his own money on the line. Bloody Disgusting got behind him. Cineverse. This is true independent horror as it should be. Nobody's safe. If you're squeamish, maybe watch yourself. I love this film. I adore it. This movie's a 9 for me. Like I said, if there had been full nudity, it'd have been almost a 10. Like, this is almost a perfect movie for me. I've seen it 5 times. I'll probably see it a couple more before Halloween. I'm watching this movie Christmas Day. This movie, Christmas, Bloody Christmas, and A Christmas Horror Story will be my the trio of Christmas horror films that I watch every year are right around Christmas time. So,
Jeremy.
Okay, we got you.
So that's what happened to him.
Oh yeah, but yeah, no, like I said, I love this movie. It was so much fun. David Howard Thornton, he's the Bugs Bunny of serial killers. Like he's just bouncing around doing what he does. You know, and I'm not the first one to use that example, but it fits him perfectly. Lauren Lavera gives such a devastating performance, and she really shows the whole PTSD of surviving something like this that we've seen in every Halloween movie and every other slasher deal that's a sequel. She does it right, and she can all play. She's as much of a believable badass as she is a victim. That's why I love her as Sienna as the final girl. I love so much about this franchise. Like I said, I could do hours on it. I've seen all of them, and I can't wait to see Terrifier 4 and 5. I'll be here for it.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about Lauren Lavera. I want to see her career grow. I mean,
I
was reading a little bit about her before we went live, and she's got a little bit. She's actually martial arts trained. She actually was in law school at one point before she decided to go.
That's how she got this role.
I mean,
because he didn't have to have a stunt girl.
Yeah, she's crazy talented, probably a pretty high level of intelligence. As she moves, eventually transitions out of the Sienna role and other things. I want to see her do other stuff. I want to see her do more dramatic, maybe a political thriller. I think I could see her doing something like that. But she is a great foil for Art the Clown. She's fantastic. Art the Clown, everything that David Howard Thornton has done to this. I mean, look, I put it down there. He's quickly reaching legendary status to me. It's like first movie, again, was kind of one-dimensional, but his performance was great. The way the way that he emotes the character, it's so different. It's so fresh. It's something that's relatively rare. I mean, like I said, Jason Voorhees doesn't really say anything, but all he does is stand there and look menacing. Nobody's like, I wonder if that guy Jason smells. And he's like, well, whatever. I mean, there's none of that. I mean, he only communicates by standing there looking menacing, whereas Art, I mean, you can tell what's on his mind by the basic body movements. I love the performance. I do love the fact that the story has gotten better. Again, I don't feel like he's told it well enough in this movie, but I do think there's a good story that I'm interested in, the connection between him and Sienna. I'm still curious as to what her dad's role in all this is. I mean, I'm intrigued with these enough to anticipate the fourth film coming out so I can get more answers. I'm wrapped up in the story now, which is fantastic. I'm going to assume now that Jeremy is not able to deal with the internet thing he's having, but I think Jeremy liked the movie as well. If Jeremy wants to put up a short or something later and give you his final thoughts on it, he can. But yeah, that seems like a good place to wrap things up. I think it's a good movie. It's going to be out, like Tech said. There's only a 45-day theatrical window now, so you're going to find it on video on demand or on some streaming service to rent probably fairly quickly. So yeah, go check it out. Honestly, go check us out in theaters, though. It's totally worth. It's worth the money you pay for a ticket to go see it in the theater.
This is a movie you need to see with people in a theater. The theater experience and reaction of everybody else is another thing that makes this so special to see. So yeah,
I went to an 8:00 showing on, I think it was Sunday night. I forget. And I was really surprised because it was like there were some sporadic people in there. It was late weekend, so I kind of got it. I wish I would have gotten a chance to have gone see it Friday night, where there would have been more people there, because I didn't really get a chance to experience the crowd reaction. Because one of the things I like about going to the theater is like you get some movies like the MCU, like when Cap picks up Mjolnir and stuff like that. The crowd reaction is awesome. I didn't get a chance to really read the crowd because there were some people sitting in front of me that didn't really react to the stuff. I'm thinking maybe they were just as jaded by all the blood and shit from years and years of watching horror movies as you and I are. So maybe they just didn't really. Maybe they're just desensitized by years of this shit like we are. But yeah, I didn't really get a chance to see it in a full enough theater where I could laugh at the reaction of the lady next to me or whatever. You see, BJ's always saying she would be the screamer in the theater. So I don't know.
Oh,
maybe you want
she
to.
Wouldn't be the screamer. She'd be the one walking out after 5 minutes. So that's what BJ would be doing.
No. BJ would gut it out. I have no doubt in my mind that she would gut it out just so that she could chime in here when we do our reviews and be like, no, Tex, here's where you're wrong. And she would give us her 2 cents.
Well, and to answer a question that BJ has asked a couple times, what happened to me growing up? Watching too many movies like this happened is part of it. So, that's part of the result. So, just to kind of shed a little light on whatever. But, it's all good. I enjoy every minute of it.
But that's where we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks to Jeremy, who looks like his internet problems are going to keep him from finishing the show with us. But that's all right. We got his great thoughts on this. So thanks to Jeremy for joining us, and thanks to the Sheriff and Lone Star State, my man Tex. Where can the folks at home find you, my friend?
I'm here reviewing films. I'll be seeing Smile 2 this weekend. I think he said we're going to get into the Smile movies at some point or something. I can't remember, but. I'll be seeing that this weekend, and I've got Venom 2 tickets as well already, so I'll be at the AMC Theater. I don't know what my movie for my Scarathon is tonight. I didn't look at the list, but I hope everybody's, sticking to their 31s for 31s if you've got time, and enjoy your spooky movies, man. It's just, the most wonderful time of the year, as I say. So, and just to prove that, I now have a Christmas movie to go with the most wonderful time of the year. So, it's all good.
Now you need to do 31 horror movies to watch in December. Could be Black Christmas. Could be whatever.
I've got a list of like 12 Christmas, good Christmas horror films that I watch in December that are strictly Christmas themed, like Jack Frost, Christmas Bloody Christmas, A Christmas Horror Story. There's a good list of them. This is going to be the anchor for that list that gets watched on Christmas Day. So. This has now made that list, so it will be there for sure.
Yeah, next week's I forget what we're doing Thursday, but next week's going to be a busy week because again we have Venom: The Last Dance coming out. We'll probably do that on Tuesday, and then I think we'll do the Smile and then Smile 2 on the Thursday and Tuesday after that. So I definitely want to get to the Smile movies because those are movies I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And with the second one coming out, I've been kind of holding on to the first one.
I'll be seeing it this weekend.
But yeah, we're going to be so double feature this week. Venom, Smile 2. That sounds like a pretty dope double feature.
Well, no, Venom doesn't come out till the 25th. Smile comes out this weekend.
I thought
so they're.
Okay, I was watching the early reactions because the early reactions to Venom have actually been pretty good.
Venom doesn't release until the end of the month.
Yeah, you see, even BJ's taking shots at you. So say it's like Jamie's playing Halloween 11. It's on my TV. Even BJ's poking the bear.
Hey, Frank is slandering my good name by God with this Jamie Lee Curtis crap. I'm gonna, this ain't how you treat a friend, Frank. You need to be a better man. That's all I got news for you.
Yeah. Again, I'm not sure what we're doing on Thursday, but we will be here doing something on Thursday. I apologize for not streaming at all last week, but a bunch of stuff got in the way, and I don't like doing stuff alone, so whatever. It's all going to work out.
Well, I wasn't here Thursday because I was watching this movie, so I was absent. So forgive me for that, but it's all good. So I was priorly engaged. So
come back and see us next time. Like, share, do all that good stuff that YouTubers tell you to do. Help us grow the show. YouTube sucks; they won't do it for us. We'll see you next time. Till then. Adios. Real quick, Tex, what's the better Christmas movie, this one or Die Hard? Which one do you got?
Die Hard is not a fucking Christmas movie. Don't even start with me at all. That is not a Christmas film.
There's Christmas.
This is a Christmas
in it. There's a Christmas tree in it. There's carols playing in it.
Okay.
Just like this movie. People die in it. Just like this movie.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. We don't have time to argue this. We'll be here for hours.
Exact same movies. Exact same.